Hello, and welcome to the Humanity, where we do the things with the stuff for the people. I am Matt.
And I'm Tommy. And tonight, in case people haven't noticed, there's been just a lot of life happening, I think, for a lot of people lately, but us too. So we didn't really have any particular topics or anything we really felt compelled to talk about tonight much. So we're just like, let's just do some more apologetics reactions to like different videos and the whatnots. Shorts, perhaps. That's seems to be something we're doing a little more often recently. I think we both were like, we really like this. We should do this more often. So I guess we are, especially when we can't think of anything else to do. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that'll be first drink. Second drink. As people may know, I think I've talked about this recently. Um, I'm quite a bit into video game Elden Ring lately. I got it for myself for Christmas, and I got myself a DLC for my birthday because I'm just so awesome to myself like that. Um, but I heard people talking like before I got into the game, like I'd been into like the Dark Souls games, like people know like they're made by the same people. So yeah, very similar style of games. So I was very much into Dark Souls, but hadn't played Elden Ring yet. But I saw some people talking about like Elon Musk online, and he like posted like his character build. Basically like all his equipment, how he had built his character and all the stats and everything. And I guess people like looked at it and saw like this is one of the most ridiculous builds I've ever seen. So we'll take a look at that, and I'll give you my thoughts on it now that I actually know what I'm talking about for the game. So, but yeah. So I guess speaking of first drink, what are you drinking tonight, Matt? Yeah.
Uh, it's another Seventh Son. Um, this one is Fox and the Stout, and it has it's like a fox inside. I don't even know what that is. Is that a papaya? A guava? Is that one of those?
Cocoa bean? I don't know. I
Oh,
don't.
that's probably it. Because it's a salted chocolate imperial stout.
Ooh, no. So that's the chocolate. Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
I think the illustration is kind of disturbing. Because it
The
looks
best
like
kind.
I can't tell if the fox is alive or dead. Um, Also, either way, inside like a cocoa bean pod, I I don't know how to feel about that.
Foxy. That's how I feel about it. Um, so yeah. So tonight, my drink is also kind of related to some current goings on in my life. Just going with a good old some wine, but to let you know, but like how fancy I get with my because people may notice like with my beer, I always have like my fancy beer glass, usually an IPA glass because that's how I roll. Um, and usually like a nice craft beer because I get like super nerdy, whatever you want to call it about that. But I guess I'm pretty much the opposite when it comes to wine. So like tonight, like not only is the wine just from a box,
The black box.
but it's also in a jar.
Because you're
Because
fancy.
right, because I don't have like wine glasses per se. By per se, I mean at all.
I
So
mean, you have things wine will fit in, but
mhm. Right. I mean, but hey, this is a glass and it is holding wine, so this is now a wine glass. Um, but yeah, also the reason I got the box of wine is, I guess, other current event update on me. People know, like, I had cancer several years ago. Been in remission for about 3.5 years now. Two and a half, 3.5 years. September of 21, however long ago that was. But yeah, with my cancer, like it was a stage 4 melanoma, so like chance for recurrence was super high, but things have actually been looking good. So it took me off treatment a year and a half ago, but I'm still getting regular like body scans, like just to make sure it didn't come back. So on Friday, I had my head MRI, and on Monday, I had my full body PET scan, and everything's still looking good. So all no cancer. I still do have a brain, and the rest of me, but no cancer going on anywhere still. So, yeah. So enjoy that. So, but the reason for the wine is so.
No, that's very good. Sorry, I'm used to that happening. That's great news.
Yeah, I'm getting a little used to it too. I realized this was actually my 15th like head MRI and PET scan I've had. So I wish I had like a punch card for it.
I was gonna say you need to get a free one. Come on now.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, fortunately, thanks to my insurance, I really only pay for like the first ones of the year, and then like that pretty much hits my deductible and out of pocket max like all at once. So all the rest of them are free for the year. But
Yeah, it's super expensive to stay alive.
Yeah, but January and February suck. I mean, well, at least I'm not on the immunotherapy anymore. That was, yeah. Anyway,
because that was all like the newest of the newest stuff.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, the shit works. So, but the reason for the wine is because for the PET scan, like long story short, you can look it up if you want. It's PET. I don't remember what it stands for, but they want your blood sugar to be at a low to manageable, like just not high. So the day before, you're supposed to eat like low carb and whatever. But I looked up online because I was like, I feel like having a drink. Like, what does alcohol do to your blood sugar? And apparently, wine actually lowers your blood sugar for like 12 hours or so. So now every time the day before my PET scan, I get myself a nice box of wine. I don't drink the whole box, but
just
not
put
at
a
once
straw
anyway.
in it, like a Capri Sun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I just take the bag out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Always with the pinky, because fancy.
Get one of those fat smoothie straws, so you get more volume at once.
Yeah. Oh no, the ones like if you get like the bubble tea. So
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we want you to eat the chunks in it. So.
Yeah, so that's what's going on with me lately. Oh, and also fingers crossed, if I remember correctly, my oncologist said, like I said, I'm no longer on immunotherapy, and but when I was on it for a couple of years. So I had a port put in. If people know, like if you get regular injections, it's just a thing they install in you.
Yeah, it's like your fuel cap.
Other than like sticking your veins, or I think as you referred to it as like my bionic reverse nipple. Which is a fantastic description, as usual. But it sounds like I said, fingers crossed. I think my oncologist said last time that if these scans were clear again, they'd probably just go ahead and take my port out. So excited about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of got used to him being there. Named him Porty because I'm creative like that.
Excuse me, that was a burp on the microphone.
Well, it sounded good. But yeah, so that's what's going on with me. And any updates, things you want to share tonight, or
I'm starting to get. It's a weird kind of. Like I shot past being overwhelmed with all the political end of democracy stuff, and now I'm just like, it's just more of the same. And now I'm getting underwhelmed. Where it just,
yeah,
I'm like, oh, I guess this is the part of the story now. Like in the future, it's gonna be in the history books, and people are gonna be like, it's gonna be like Gilded Age stuff or things right before the Great Depression, and it's like, didn't you know this was bad to do? Like, it's clear in hindsight, like,
or it should be, yeah.
Right before the the second violent disagreement between the North and the South.
Yeah. So,
tell you what, whatever side wins a war, you can't just make the other side pay for it. You need to help them rebuild, or guess what? It happens again later. I think that's what's happening now. Because the South did get royally screwed, carpetbaggers and massive poverty and all that fun stuff. It's like what happened in Germany after the First World War. Like it always leads to a revenge arc in the story.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's one of the situations where you really got to balance. Okay, are you more concerned with the other side, like getting what they deserve, or are you more concerned with just what will be the better outcome for everybody, kind of thing? So yeah, because please, no one like construe that as any sort of like sympathy for the South or Germany and either of those wars as far as like their causes or whatever.
There's good people on both sides.
And pretty horrible people on both sides,
Yeah.
as we found
Also,
out in both circumstances. So,
people can be very mistaken about what reality is. We're seeing that right now. People are
Ooh.
living in like a disinformation world bubble. And like, if what they believe is true, then it is moral for them to do what they're doing. It isn't true.
Mm.
And so hopefully eventually a lot of people deconstruct from that.
Yeah. But speaking of
hopefully we don't just try to punish them.
Right. Yeah, but speaking of deconstructing from things, or at least things that we deconstructed from, so with all that going on, what say we watch some silly YouTube apologists? Well, silly in some cases, I guess. And just see what they have to say. I got a couple videos pulled up that we can start with, and then just kind of.
Well, I do need to brag about my beer first.
Oh yes, please do.
It smells like a brownie, like legit, like a brownie. And there's no artificial flavoring in it. Ooh. It's flavored from the cocoa nibs and like the actual stuff that is in like the name of the flavor.
Oh, okay.
I almost picked up one today that was a black walnut brown ale, and I was like, that sounds cool. And I'm like, I bet that has flavoring. And I checked, and it did. And like, I can always taste the fakeness, and I do not like it.
Yeah. It depends. I think like, I talked about like a beer I'd had at Mad Tree when we were out like a couple weekends ago. It's like, that was definitely flavored, but like too much. But anyway, so with all the things going on, what say we get to some YouTube apologists there, Matt?
Okay, Tommy.
All right. So I figured we'd start with, because we were talking before the show, like, well, we decided, let's do some. Matt had the idea of just doing like some more like apologist video reactions, and I asked, well, anything in particular? And I think you just said, something British.
Yeah, that's always amusing.
Yeah,
creepy.
So
the world's scary. Oh boy.
Yeah, so of course the first. Here,
is that his Bible?
What?
Is that like in the background?
I don't know. His backgrounds get a little crazy, especially on his shorts. Like his edit. So this is Off the Curb Ministries. Curb spelled K-I-R-B, because I guess this guy's name's Kirby. I think we watched this guy last time we did some videos. Someone I've seen some stuff, like seen other YouTubers react to. It's like he's just one of those people where like I really can't tell if he's like being serious or
right.
Like, because so many times he seems like a parody of like a YouTube apologist or whatever. But I mean, also like, I know this isn't like his fault necessarily, but I mean, just check out like this is like the first frame of the video, and like how like horror movie is this? It's like you got like the creepy, like blurred out, almost non-existent face with like the crazy text with the scribbling and marking all over it, like it's some like crazy person's diary or something. But it's the Bible, so close enough, I guess. But I was proud of that zinger myself. But
no, he looks. Yeah, he doesn't look good.
So this is
3 signs you're going to heaven.
You know, that's I think that's a different video. Maybe
this
one is this one is a world's scariest Bible verse.
I bet you it isn't.
Well, this one I did watch beforehand, but
I don't really bag of potato chips on the coffee table back there.
Oh, good. I had some potato chips today. I don't have the bag though.
And I
Just
think we decided.
Robbie
Oh,
P.
I'm sorry, you're talking.
That's okay. I'm just explaining my plant back here. Oh, and if anyone's curious, this is the same plant we've had for the entire over year of the show. And people might be asking, Tommy, how are you keeping that thing alive so often, so long? It's like, because it's plastic. So that's how. Different candle this time though. But anyway,
Gotta liven it up.
All right. So let's see what Mr. Curb has to say about the world's scariest Bible verse. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Is he ready?
Ooh. One way to find out.
I am going to get a lot of hate for this video, but hands down, this is the scariest verse in all of the Bible. In Ephesians,
What was happening with the background?
Yeah, everything.
The children slide. I was like, like that. That was disturbing for some reason.
Yeah, but I love how he's like, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this video. It's like this is not like the kind of it's not like he's like calling people out or like saying something controversial. He's just like, here's a scary Bible verse. Like, I don't know what kind of hate he was expecting, other than just maybe for how crazy and wonky his editing is. I can see him getting some hate for that. But all right, but let's see what Ephesians.
Like somebody having like a flashback seizure.
Wait, is he having a seizure during a flashback, or having a flashback of a seizure, or both?
I meant more like he's having a seizure, and the effect of the seizure is that he's only getting snippets of flashbacks in rapid succession.
That's definitely what this seems like.
Yeah.
So, all right. Let's see what Ephesians 5:3-5 says. So he said the scariest Bible verse, but this is like
Ephesians ain't
3
scary.
verses. No, but this is 3 verses.
Oh, he's already wrong.
Dude.
Ephesians 5 verses 3 to 5, it makes a list of 7 types of people who will not make
Oh, hold on. I want to see the list here.
of people.
Like I'm probably into like all of these things.
Those who do things outside of marriage. Boy.
Yep. Those who have impure eyes. What? So you got like pink eye, like an infection? Is that what that is?
No, if you look at things that like God says you shouldn't look at, then you should gouge out your eyes. But don't do that because God loves you. Also, it might not matter because you probably still go to hell. Like,
and then because I don't want to do that, so I'm going to tell you probably shouldn't. Greedy, get greedy sometimes, sure. Filthy language, fuck yeah! If you use filthy language, god damn it.
It's like, have you read the Bible?
Words.
Like, there's dick jokes all over the place in there.
And in Hebrew, like literally everything is a euphemism for genitals.
Right, and Song of Songs was like literally about like it was just penis vagina. Like it was just
yeah, and tits and all kinds of
yeah.
So those who talk foolishly. I mean, have you seen our show? I mean, those who like crude jokes. Yep. Those who worship anything other than God. Well, I mean, I guess by the definition of Christians, like basically just whatever is most important to you, you're worshiping. Yeah.
Well, the commandment was no other one before God. Like it wasn't. So it was just kind of you could worship others, just worship Him the best.
Yeah.
That's what the commandment is. It's not only. It just says not before.
Yeah, it just says don't have any other gods, just have no other gods before him. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, go ahead, collect them all, but Pikachu's still the best. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Right? There you go. All right, so let's see what he has to say about this list of what are apparently my favorite things.
People who will not make it into heaven. And then it goes on to say this about that group of people. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these things...
Getting the dramatic music going too, yeah.
Let no one deceive you with empty words, said the man making a YouTube short.
That began with, now this is going to upset a lot of people.
Like these are literally like almost exclusively brain rot videos.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then you get somebody who's like, spitting fire, like truth to power and that kind of stuff. But the rest of the time it's just the point is to distract you long enough to finish the video. Like,
yeah, which is why they're like, what is this? Like, yeah, he kept it under a minute, just barely. All right. So let's hear like so the music. I don't know if you heard the music, but it just got like super like serious and like because we're talking about
hell.
Yeah, because we're talking about the wrath of God, who is love.
The sons of disobedience.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like maybe that's what we should have called our show. That's like a fantastic title. Is it too late to change the name? We do that?
No. I mean, it's gonna be awkward if we like.
Yeah.
If people go to watch it later and it's like, "Welcome to the humanity," we're like, "What?"
Yeah, oh yeah. If we change the name but still call it the humanity, yeah. But like, don't talk about it at all. Like we. Oh, that definitely sounds like something we would do. All right, so let's hear him talk about us. Apparently,
things. The wrath of God comes upon the sons of disobedience. Why is this so scary? Because right now there are people in hell as we.
Citation needed.
Yeah, it's gonna go back. Like there was something I wanted to comment on, but like I couldn't pause and I couldn't remember what I was going to say. So let's see if I can remind myself.
Comes upon the sons of disobedience. Why is this so scary? Because right now there are people in hell as we speak who.
I totally lost whatever I was going to say before. So anyway, right. People in hell. Right, as we speak, they're in hell, and I'm assuming he's going to totally prove that in the last 20 seconds here.
Yeah.
Listened to the deception of other people. Here's what.
Ooh, so okay, so this was something that when I was watching this earlier that I think
they listened to deception. Well, how will you find out whether or not it's deception if you don't listen to it?
Right? Oh yeah, I'll let him go a little farther because there's something else he says I think that kind of makes this seem more odd too.
What the lies sound like. People say even.
What?
Oh no! I just like that, like his like gestures he did there for extra effect. Like I just want to see that again because I want to know like how long he rehearsed what moves to make there. Like,
well, he definitely did before he said
of other people. Here's what the lies sound like. People say even pastors commit this sin.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like even pastors do this. So if we're supposed to be. Yeah. So if we're supposed to be able to like trust our pastors and people who are like teaching like literally from the Bible,
right. But isn't he kind of a pastor? Like, couldn't he be doing this right now? And like he goes to supermax hell, but like we just go to like regular like what do you call it? Lower security hell.
Yeah. Minimum security.
Yeah. Minimum security hell. Yep.
Or like, we still get
have like TV privileges and shit.
Yeah, we still get like outdoors time, art classes, Yeah.
Yep.
Play some kickball out in the yard. Yeah. So, but yeah, this guy, he's man. Yep. Getting demons doing butt stuff to him.
By the way, his receding hairline I just processed what you said. So if you look at him, he has like a dark halo because he has that real close buzz cut and the receding hairline.
Oh yeah. Mm.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
See, I was starting to get that too. That's not the reason, obviously, but just the shaved look I figured was best for me at this point. But so let's back up and hear about how we can even be deceived by pastors and stuff.
People. Here's what the lies sound like. People say even.
I just love that. Here's a lie. Sound like.
Well, but and when he said lies, he grabs his earlobe and wiggles it. Like, what are you doing? That doesn't mean lies. And it's before he says anything about ears, and so it's just like, what is happening now?
but that's like what I was saying earlier about so much of what he does just seems like a parody. Because if like I'm thinking of like an SNL skit of like someone who's like a beginner actor, but like trying to do like some like serious acting, and they're like when they're trying to do some hand gestures, like
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing that is coming to mind with that. But like no, apparently this guy's serious. So
I think if
so
they did
let's
some
hear.
digital shorts where somebody's like doing a parody of an apologist, I think that could be something.
Ooh, yeah, I like that. Somebody get on that. Whoever is watching there. All right. Yeah, so let's hear about how apparently very easily we can be deceived, and I guess God, if we are deceived, God's going to do like jack shit about it to set us straight. But we're going to be apparently we're going to end up in hell because we listen to our pastors. So,
yeah. Why, man?
Because
are we supposed to know better? I mean, like they're literally supposed to know more than us about the topic.
Yeah, and like, how are we supposed to know better? But it's supposed to be by listening to our pastors and teachers. But if they're deceiving us, and how are we going to know if we're deceived? So yeah.
Well, and isn't resisting authority? Isn't that also a sin?
Oh like, yeah,
sons of disobedience, like are the evil ones,
right? Yeah. So if you listen to your pastor, you're going to hell. If you don't listen to your pastor, you're going to hell. So it's
like this sounds like the pastor's problem, not mine. Why am I going to hell?
All right. So let's hear the problem continue.
Pastors commit this sin, so how will you defeat it? Or some people say, hey, don't worry about it.
Wait, that's...
Okay, we don't defeat it. Isn't it supposed to be Jesus who defeated sin?
Why do we need like he... But also, it sounded like he started a thought but didn't finish it. Like, I want to listen to that again. But I want to see this part, like for the third time because it cracks me up every damn time.
Sound like people say even pastors commit this sin, so how will you defeat it? Or some people say, hey, don't worry about it.
He's like, pastors commit this sin, so how will you defeat it? Or like it seemed like there's something missing there, like he's supposed to be telling us how to defeat it, but then he just like skips on to the next thing. So yeah, anyway, so I guess we don't know how to defeat it, so let's just find out how extra screwed we are now. So.
Worry about it. God's all loving. He would never send anyone to hell. Or a very
why would someone think that? Like, what a crazy thought that a loving God wouldn't send people to hell. Like,
what a ridiculous thing to think.
Yeah, but apparently thinking that will send you to hell. So.
A very popular one right now. Don't tell people to turn from their sins. That's work.
Oh man, if I had a nickel for every time I heard someone say "Don't tell people to turn from their sins,"
yeah,
I mean, is it possible to have negative nickels? That's so often I don't hear that.
That's just a bad straw man. Like it's not even like a good one. Mm-hmm. It's just misunderstanding. And then turning that into a straw man. Because no, they're saying that like telling people that they're like eternally broken can never fix themselves or be fixed. But Jesus died, and if we wear him like a mask, God sees like Jesus, not our wretchedness, and then thinks that we're amazing. Like it's really kind of like a Hannibal Lecter Trojan horse situation.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, or also like foreshadowing. I guess it's not foreshadowing because I already said we talk about it, but like the Elden Ring stuff, there's like some boss enemies in there called like the God skins, and they're like like their outfits are like made of skins. So like that's what I'm. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Like the problem people have with it's not telling people not to repent or whatever from their sins. It's the whole approach that like you are qualified to tell someone else what they need to change about their life, and that decide that things that we don't universally as humans think of as evil, bad things to do, that like you have the cheat code for knowing what's and then you're going to tell people like, yeah, you're going to be tortured forever. Unless you follow Jesus, but depending on who you talk to, you still might be tortured forever, even if you follow Jesus. So
Yeah. I mean, you could follow the things he teaches, but if you don't believe the right things about him while you're following his teachings, then yeah. Or you could even believe him, but not even necessarily follow his teaching. Now you're still supposed to follow his teachings, but I guess if you don't, shame on you. Fine, we'll let you in. But yeah, it's
the manipulation and the gaslighting that has to happen to convince somebody. You're not convincing them. They have to. It's like immersive gaslighting. So yeah, that whole thing of trying to convince somebody, just look, why you gotta sell it so hard? Like if this is the bestest of the goodest news, then it should sell itself. People should just see how awesome you are and how it is to be you going through your life, and they're like, hey, I want what he has, and it's usually I want the community he has.
Right. Yeah. And that's one of the things that gets me about like these recent like he gets us ad campaign that's really supposed to be like Jesus is cool, everyone. We promise. It's like again like they're trying to sell Jesus, and also like don't get me started on like whether what they're selling is like actually Jesus or they're just a version of Jesus. Because this is actually something I kind of agree with a lot of the more like fundamentalist critiques of these he gets us ads is like you're not portraying Jesus accurately. You're just trying to make him look cool so people will like your thing or whatever. But
yeah, it's like humanist cosplay.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, first of all, it's like I said this a while ago about these ads. Like, look, if Jesus really was that cool, like you wouldn't need to be spending like millions of dollars on ads to convince us. You should be able to just explain, oh, here's Jesus, he's what he's about. Here's what he's about. But that's the thing is like everyone knows about Jesus. It's not like, people are watching this like, what? Who's this? Never heard of him before. Have no idea where to learn more about him. Like, but also there was one of the more recent ones. Like the message was
about
it. Like,
I didn't know they're still doing them.
Oh yeah. They still, but there was a recent one. It was something along the lines of like, it's called He Gets Us, but like the message of the ad was like, Jesus loves all the people that you hate. I'm like, well, apparently he doesn't get me. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? But so
those ads are kind of sinister when you because at least when the campaign first came out, the big money that was behind it was from Hobby Lobby and other organizations that were like anti-gay and trans, essentially,
which surprised me. Like,
and they're like, he gets us, he gets you, he gets everybody, and they're like, except for everybody's queer, and like.
Like he gets that they're going to hell. That's
their angle's very different than their marketing, and that is kind of gross and sinister.
Yeah.
Trying to get you in there until you're not queer. Like,
well, speaking of gross and sinister, like I feel like we've been keeping our man Curb here I'd say we've been keeping him on a weird freeze frame, but like with this guy, any place I would pause would be a weird.
I'll bet he shares a cot. A single cot with a special male friend, just like Abraham Lincoln did. Like, strikes me as a guy who he's not gay. He just has a special man friend.
But it's for ministry purposes.
Right? Yeah.
All right. So let's back up because I forget what the fuck he was saying, even though I'm not sure I want to remember. But.
Never send anyone to hell. Or a very popular one right now. Don't tell people to turn from their sins. That's work-based salvation. I am going to get a lot of hate.
It's not even the argument at all.
Like, also, it's like, okay, like, what? That was such a weird place to end. I feel like I need to back up to see, like, what the hell was he even talking about? Like, it felt like he was going somewhere, but then he just stopped. But you know what? I don't really give a shit.
That's how the last one we watched with him was. Like, he was like going somewhere, then course corrected, and then it ended. Like,
yeah, but it's like, so that's that's that one. So I got
They really do confuse confusion with deep thoughts. Like, if you know what I mean?
uh-huh. Yeah. All right, so that was the only one of his that I like pre-watched or whatever. So I just pulled up his page of shorts. So I guess I don't know.
Who's
You
that
just want
guy
to
with the bloody mouth or the red teeth? What's that all about?
oh, that's just like it's just a word and it's in red text
Oh, okay.
over. It says pain, but yeah, let's. So there's like all of these like or most of them just have like a single word of text across them. So there's like agreed, was, reason, last, pain, cry, that, trumpets. so I don't know. I figured we can just kind of like scroll through these and like see if any more of these like seemed interesting. This one sounded interesting to me. Like when DL Moody saw Hell from Hotel. Like,
oh, okay.
I kind of want to know what's going on here. So
he's getting bigger and taller from left to right.
Oh yeah, it's like he's increasing. He's swelling.
He has lumberjack magic. Look at that shirt.
Like, is he getting? Oh, is this like an arousal chart? What's anyway?
3 pastors. In 1999, Elon Musk founded an online banking company called X.com. In 2002, Elon Musk founded.
That's not the one I clicked on. Did it just play for like 2 seconds and then? We need to try this. Try this again.
Does it no longer exist?
3 pastors were jealous of the success of the evangelist D.L. Moody, so they asked could they spend a day with him to somehow pinch the secrets of why thousands were.
Wait, so 3 priests wanted to pinch a fat dude? That's what I'm
yeah. Yeah, my brain totally stopped with like this. What did they spend time so they could pinch? I mean,
did they?
D.L. Moody, he was a cozy boy from what I seen.
Yeah, he was quite rotund.
Yeah, like a bear. Is that what that's referred to? I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
No, never mind. So let's back up and let's.
D.L. Moody. So they asked could they spend a day with him to somehow pinch the secrets of why thousands were coming to Christ through his preaching. At the end of the
Okay, what does that mean? Is that a phrase like to pinch secrets? Like, is that a thing that people say?
I watch a lot of British people doing YouTube things. Not a lot, enough to like hear Britishy things. Never heard that Britishy thing.
Yeah. Pinching secrets. Maybe that's code for something. I don't know.
The day, D.L. Moody said, "Gentlemen, it's been my pleasure, but just before you go, I want to show you the view from my hotel room." As the 3 men looked out at a busy street, D.L. Moody said, "Tell me, men, what do you see?" One pastor said, "I see beautiful trees." Another said, "I see children playing."
I don't know why. I just love how he said beautiful trees.
Yeah.
I should hear that again.
See, one pastor said, "I see beautiful trees." Another
beautiful trees. They're so beautiful.
See. I was about to do a Louis Armstrong Wonderful World.
Trees.
I cannot do a Louis Armstrong impression, so I could tell immediately that was going to go poorly. So I'm just not.
I think to myself.
See, that's much better. That was beautiful. Thank you for doing that for me.
Another said, "I see children playing in the park," whilst the last one said, "I see businessmen rushing around." And then one of the
this is quite a street.
Yeah, the back rooms in the background is really throwing me off.
Yeah, it's like oh, we looked out into like if you want to see hell, like don't show them a busy street, just show them this guy's like busy background images.
I kind of think he's doing this on purpose because it may show up when kids are trying to look at backroom video game shorts.
Yeah.
which could make sense why there was like the children's toy thing in the background last time.
Oh, yeah.
He's like really trying to. That's dark. I hope he's not doing that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Pastors turned around and noticed a tear rolling down D.L. Moody's cheek. Mr. Moody, what do you see? I see thousands and thousands of souls that without my saviour will be trapped in hell forever. So come on now, be honest with me. When you look at a busy street, what do you see? 3 pastors were jealous.
Your savior is why they're going there also. Wait, so your savior is why they're going to hell, but also the reason why they can get out of it. Isn't that also like kind of a tacit admission that like it's all God's fault? Like,
yeah, and also like I mean, just think about the messaging here. Like, apparently, you're not a good enough Christian if when you just look at people, you're not sad because you're not.
And how evil you're assuming them all to be.
Yeah, and also apparently you need to be sad because, like you said, of what God is going to do to these people.
So you gotta connect him with God so he doesn't have to.
Yeah,
or doesn't want to. It's unclear.
I mean, and isn't God also looking out on these people, like knowing they're going to go to hell and just letting them? It's like this whole like it's all up to us. Like, fucking why?
Right? Why does? Yeah, because he said without my savior, so there's like a personal thing in it, and
yeah,
like wow, why isn't God working hard enough? Like why does
right?
Why are the shared burden that like we need to feel like? Well, if we don't do this, then like they're not going to pay attention to God, or God's not going to. We level up God's power or something like.
Yeah, it's just.
It's like an area buff for God's power.
Yeah, it's like so. I heard someone say recently, like, or just kind of raise the question of like. So why did Jesus go back to heaven? Like after the resurrection, like think about it. Like how much more effective would it have been if he just stayed on earth, like for like the rest of time and was just like always available for like to teach. I mean, I think especially now, like in the age of like the internet, because this is something like people will talk about, like, you know, when Jesus came, like in the middle of like, Rome, like the Roman Empire and their height of power, and like, so see, Jesus came to the perfect time because this was like the time when like Rome was like connecting the world, and like so like with their roads and empire, like his message could travel like so much more quickly, and like that's why this is the perfect time for him to come. And they're like, can you think of a better time in human history? It's like I can think of several.
We have the internet now. That's like
or
more
honestly,
places than roads.
Right, honestly, because especially like if you're someone who like takes the Bible like completely literally, as far as like the creation and all that was like literal story. Yeah, if you ask me, okay, when would have been the best time for Jesus to show up? Literally right after the fall. Like as soon as it happened, God like, all right, well, I'm sending my son right now to fix all of this right now before it gets even worse, before I have to do something crazy like flood the whole world later. Boy, wouldn't that be ridiculous? Like. Or now when, because also people talk about like, the Roman Empire and how it connected. It's like, well, yes, the Roman Empire connected like that part of the world. Like, but there was like, I don't know if people realized there was still like a lot of world outside the Roman Empire at that time, including like where we are right now.
Yep.
But of course, people
would say, well,
the Bible didn't know about it, but.
Like he couldn't have stayed around forever because you gotta have faith. And it's like, well, why did he come at all then? Like,
yeah, like if all it takes is if all it's supposed to take is faith, then it's that same thing when Christians nowadays will say, well, you can't expect like proof from God because then it wouldn't take faith, and then they'll even say things like, well, what do you expect him to do? Just show up and say, hi, I'm God? It's like, well, he already did.
Yeah, and at the same time that they're saying like, it's ridiculous to demand evidence. It's like, but literally your whole thing is like built around the evidence, in angry air quotes, that that he died and rose again. Like,
yeah, when he
that's some
literally did
hella evidence, like.
right. And when my man Doubting Thomas asked for evidence, he gave him the evidence by
He finger banged Jesus' hand.
Yeah, the famous like Jesus letting Thomas finger his holes story, which is one of my favorites. But
so clearly we don't get new bodies. So did he just look like a zombie? Like if Jesus came back with a and still.
Well, it also depending on which part of the New Testament you're reading, either like his resurrection body was a physical body because things like that, like he still had the wounds, but apparently he only had some wounds. It didn't say anything about like the wounds from like the crown of thorns or from the lashings or any of that.
And he could walk through the wall sometimes, but not others. So he could at least change his.
Or he's like showing up and like eating fish with them. But then if you hear like people like Paul's descriptions, it sounds totally just like a vision, like he's like a heavenly body and light and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So, but now here's the thing. I actually think I do know the answer to the question of why Jesus is in the story anyway. Jesus ascended to heaven. That's because that was the trope. Like, yes. I mean, I know I mentioned this guy before, but seriously, look him up. Other people talk about this too, but at least like nowadays, like the guy, like I think doing the best job, like talking about this is Dr. Richard C. Miller. He's like a New Testament, like biblical early Christianity scholar, specialist type dude. And he does a terrific job of linking the story of Jesus with just all the tropes that were so prevalent at that time, where like, Greek, what they call it, Greek translation fables, or like the Roman imperial cult. It's like the biggest thing for me was like, so speaking of apologists, like one of their biggest cases of like, as far as like evidence, as far as like why Christianity's true, is like why we can trust the accounts in the gospels of like the resurrection. It's like, well, because we know through all these, like even secular scholars will agree that Jesus' followers claimed to see him risen from the dead and they were willing to die for it. And like, okay, that's even debatable, but just granted, it's like, okay, they made these claims, but the thing is, like with the things like Greek translation fables, when you had like a human figure that you wanted to, like after their death, to like exalt them to some sort of like demigod or like divine status, that was just what you did. Like literally, like at the funerals of Caesars, people would be standing up and say, "Oh, Caesar appeared to me yesterday in the square, and like he talked to me," and like so, and people would, and so the whole like post-death appearance and like ascension into heaven, like that was a trope. Those were the stories you told about someone you wanted to elevate to like divine status.
People may not have believed, or they may not have believed they really saw. Like it was a performative act to show respect. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, but I was watching a video today with Richard Miller being interviewed on the Myth Vision YouTube channel, which, like, by the way, like, highly recommend. Please look that up. But yeah, he was talking about how in those days, it's kind of like our modern concept of, well, do you believe a claim? Do you believe it's true? Like, it's almost like people, like when they were making these like mythological claims, it's almost like they weren't really, it's kind of like they believed it, but they didn't. But it was just the way they approached those things were just very different than how we would approach claims like that.
Was it more like it was more about what it meant to them than whether or not it was accurate?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's still like basically like to be part of like the the Roman imperial cult. It's like you still had to believe these things about it, but it wasn't about like having evidence for it, or when people made a claim that they saw him. It's not that they actually did see him, but it was just like part of the story and the narrative they were building about him. But yeah, so like I said, I know the real answer why in the story Jesus ascended up to heaven is like because that was the trope. That's what they were going for. So I found another video from our man Curb here, speaking of like God allowing people to go to hell and stuff, but this kind of related. It's why does God allow pain, evil, and suffering? Now, I know with such a deep and like heady, like philosophical, question, like the problem of evil. Like I'd like to see how this guy handles it.
I'll bet his answer is probably something along the line of, because stop being a little bitch.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was it, but hey, let's
It's like,
let's
it hurts because you suck so much. Like something like that.
That's what he said. I don't know. All right. Well, let's find out together, won't you?
Yeah. Stick around, because I'm about to answer. Perhaps.
Stick around. Like, it's less than a minute long. Where, like, this? I swear, this guy's intros. It's like he just like knows like what sort of like catchphrases and like stuff people. YouTube like so like literally like the last one where he said like people are gonna hate me for this, like stick around because like that's why it's like I cannot.
It's like I'm about to be awesome.
It's like this is why, like I said, I cannot tell if this guy is for real or if he's like a troll or a parody or if he.
I think I get the impression he's done research to find out like what kind of phrases are algorithm baiting, and so he's like trying to bait the algorithm to get more people to see this, and so like like that part is a phony and an act. Maybe that's like why he's given like multiple kinds of vibes.
That could be, yeah. I think it totally, yeah. I think I totally get the vibe where it's like he's just like when it comes to like being clickbaity or like working the algorithm, it's like he literally knows just enough to be dangerous / annoying and stupid. So, all right. Yep. So let's hear how he. So let's stick around and see for a minute or less. And
he solves everything.
Yeah, the problem of evil, like literally one of the biggest like philosophical debates about God or gods, like for literal millennia.
If there is a God, okay, then like, and then it's like, why did bad things happen, and what? But also good things happen. Well, God would have to be all good and all bad, like all of the everything. So.
I guess. Well, let's find out what our man Curb has to say.
Stick around, because I'm about to answer perhaps the world's biggest question. Okay, look at the clock.
All right, so he is going to answer it. That's his promise. So looking at the clock. 6:48. I don't know if it's AM or PM. My clock says 8:59. So am I wrong? Is he wrong already? I don't know. Let's.
Well, I think his name's Julian. Is that his phone?
I don't know. Yeah, like what? Whose phone did he steal?
I know.
All right. Well, he's got my attention, so it's working. So.
Clock on your device and tell me what is the exact time to the minute. Suppose it's 12:01. Well, imagine if at 12:02, God.
What? Hold on. Why did you tell me to look at my? He's like, look at your device right now and tell him. But then he's like, but imagine it's this time. It's like, why'd you have me look at my phone if you're going to tell me to imagine it's a different?
I think because
he's just doing everything wrong.
Because that little screen grab thing with like the red arrow pointing to a thing, that's an algorithm baiting. Like a lot of thumbnails and stuff, you'll see like a big pointy arrow with a circle, and it's kind of a thumbnail trope. That could be just some. He's like, I got to put in a thing that gets attention when people scan through it. They're like, "Oh, an arrow in a circle, super important. Better watch."
Yeah, but sorry, I'm just getting like annoyed by like all this extra text. That's like, I mean, I'm not mad that it's obstructing his face, but it's just bugging me, and I don't know how to get rid of it. So, if anyone like younger knows how to work the YouTube shorts and get that shiz
on your phone, you can just tap it, and then that stuff goes away. But I think if you tap things with a mouse, it chooses.
Yeah, this is like I'm not going to subscribe, and I'm not going to watch that video or whatever. So I'm like, I guess I'll just live with his dumb face being obstructed partially. So, all right,
to the minute. Suppose it's 12:01. Well, imagine if at 12:02 God wiped out everything which has ever caused pain. All the evilness.
So all he needed to say was like, just imagine right now God wipes. Like he didn't need to go through the like look at your like the whole imagine minutes and like.
Well, that's his magic trick. That's his misdirection.
Yeah, so fucking stupid. That's
wiped.
Well, imagine if at 12:02 God wiped out everything which has ever caused pain. All the evilness, all the cruelty, all the health problems gone in 1 minute's time.
God wipes out everything that's ever caused pain, and it's just the Earth smashing the moon.
Yeah, fuck you, moon. Causing all those werewolves and high tides and inducing labor or whatever. I don't know.
No, that's the menstruation cycle. Like, isn't that weird? Like high tide. It's like vagina high tide. Like
well, enough about that.
Pain. All the evilness, all the cruelty, all the health problems gone in 1 minute's time. Now you and I have a problem, because if God is going to be consistent, he'd have to wipe you and I out. I've told lies.
What?
He's like, cause you're bad. Like,
okay, but okay. First of all, like, what cancer did I cause? Like, I'm the victim here, dude. But like.
It's like reverse prosperity gospel.
Yeah, which again, it's like this whole like. On the one hand, like when it benefits them, Christians will tell you that God is completely in control. He like made everything the way it is according to His plan. But also when it fits their purposes, like, well, what about things going wrong? Oh, well, that's your fault. Like so what he's getting at now is like, why do bad things happen? All because it's a broken world and we're broken people. And my question to that is, okay, well, who made us so fragile? Like, did God not see this coming? Like when He made everything, like, and designed it the way it would be, so we would be all like susceptible to this kind of like corruption and brokenness. Yeah. And
isn't that the kind of thing a corrupt leader does, where they privatize all the benefit and they socialize all of the risk and punishment. So like anything good is God, anything bad is your fault. Like,
yeah, that's because like
that's not what good people do. Why would a good God be doing that?
Right. Yeah, and I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it until other people start saying it, and it goes viral, and I get credit and become an internet millionaire. However, I don't know. However, it is that works.
But like, okay, profit.
Yeah. Right. Phase 2. But if you're going to tell me that God created everything, like all of existence, the entire universe, cosmos, whatever you want to call it, from scratch, including all the systems within it, all the systems about like how things work and like the consequences for certain things and why consequences are the way they are, like literally everything from scratch. There can literally be nothing that happens that is not because of Him. It's like if I like designed a machine, like knowing full well how it like the machine could malfunction, and putting it in an environment where it would be susceptible to those malfunctions and around other people or things that could be harmed by those malfunctions, and then doing it anyway, and then blaming the machine when it malfunctions and fucks shit up.
And like,
it's like
creating people in the first place when you know the huge majority of them you're going to end up torturing forever. Like, isn't that kind of, well, one, a dick move, but also it isn't. According to the things, he didn't have to do that. He chose to do that. So isn't that also the same as saying that like God wants to torture most people forever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if he made the world knowing that was going to be the thing that happened, if he made the world the way he made it,
Like, does God have to
then
do
yeah,
anything he doesn't want to do? And I think Christians would say no. It's like, okay, so then he wants people to go to hell because he wanted to create hell. He wanted to create an angel that would uh no, this isn't even in the Bible, but like he wanted to create an angel that would fall and like lead armies of other fallen angels against him and like taking people to hell with
mm-hmm.
him and like
Right?
uh
Yeah,
like that's how you want the story to go if you're God and you
right.
create that.
Yeah, because it's either like God, like, because they'll say, well, this is just the way it had to be. So basically, you're telling me that like God couldn't have created the universe any other way, which that's kind of a weird thing to say.
Well,
Okay,
then God doesn't have free will.
Right? Or he's not actually omnipotent because he does have limits to the kinds of worlds he can create. But let's just like grant that, okay, this is the only possible way that anything could have worked out. It's like, okay, well, then he could have just not created it. Like, if he knew it was going to get fucked up this badly and that this many, like, vast majority of people were going to end up being tortured forever, then he's like, I'm just not going to do it. Because, like, like, 'cause, again, like, to try to pull this into, like, human terms, like, show people, like, if I was going to make a product that, like, and I had the power to make this product any way I wanted, but the only, but, or I guess apparently I don't, because there's only one way I can make it. Again, depending on what kind of theology or apologetics like suit their purposes. But apparently, the only way I can make a product. Now, some people were going to really love it. It was going to be great, but the vast majority of people, it was going to like very painfully kill them. And I'm like, but this is the only way I can make it. Then I'd be like, well, then I'm just not going to make it. Like, I don't care how much the people who are going to enjoy it are going to enjoy it. The fact that it's going to like painfully kill billions more people, and I'm just not going to make it because I'm not an asshole.
Isn't that a sociopathic thing to do?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, well, I want this. It's like why did God create people? Well, he wanted to love something, have that something love him back, and like, but most of them are going to be tortured forever by his employee, like,
right? Yeah. Oh, but you see, like you call that sociopath. We see about that's by your human reasoning and understanding. Like, how dare you judge God's character? Like,
would we say that like a mass murderer here on Earth? Like, would we say like he's probably a good guy? Like that.
Yeah, they say like, well, by what standard are you judging God? Like,
it's like we would call that evil.
It's like by his standard, because usually, like when people do this stuff, God says that's wrong, or I guess unless he doesn't, when he's actually commanding it in certain parts of the Old Testament. But forget those parts. But but people say, well, that's because of your flawed moral reasoning. Well, again, going back to my previous statement, like, well, who gave me this reasoning that's so susceptible to being flawed? Like, I'm only working with the moral reasoning that God gave me, who also, depending on what kind of conversation and argument these Christians are wanting to have, like, apparently my moral sensibilities came from God, and the only way we can explain our sense of morality is because of God, and he's the one who gave it. But apparently it's the moral sensibility he gave me is inadequate to judge whether or not he's moral, and it's so fucked up. But man,
it's a shell game.
Yeah. All right. Well, he's only like half through this, but I'm trying to. I don't even remember why we thought this was so ridiculous. So I'm just going to back it up to like the one face he decided to blur out. I don't know why, but
well, it's probably his relative or some shit.
It's like probably because this is like just a real photo of a person in a hospital.
Right.
Like everything else is stock photos. Like, you tell me you can't just find a regular stock photo of person in hospital bed. Like, come on, dude. Anyway,
it looks like a hospital gown is wearing a head.
That's kind of how it feels when you're in them too. But anyway. All right. Well, let's let's.
Now you and I have a problem. Because if God is going to be consistent, he'd have to wipe you and I out. I've told lies.
Well, then again, so why did he make us? If we're so bad, he would have to wipe us out. Then why did he make us?
Again, this sounds like a him problem,
right? And this is something like, again, I know we're getting sidetracked already. I'm probably gonna have to play this back, but this is something like Frank Turek, he like addressed this point like in one of his videos. I don't know if it was like one of his like live Q&A or just a video he was making. I think it was just a video. He's like, when people ask, well, why doesn't God just like get rid of all the evil in the world? And he's like, well, then he'd have to get rid of you. It was like, and
right? He leaves himself out of that.
Well, but even he might, if you push him on it, he'd probably include himself in it. But my response to that is, okay. And my question still stands. Okay, if I am the evil that he needs to get rid of, why doesn't he? Like, you didn't answer the question, Frank.
Well, it's not in God's time. You got to see how awesome this life is, or whatever, compared to like eternity of torture. Like, better. Mm-hmm. It's better.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, the question still remains. Like, if God needs to wipe me out in order to get rid of evil, then like it's still why doesn't he? So anyway, let's
have to wipe you and I out. I've told lies. I've made my wife cry. I've stolen things. I have contributed to this world.
I don't know why, but him just admitting that he's made his wife cry, I don't know why. That just makes me laugh. Like, what? Because she watched one of your videos? Is that? Sorry.
World's pain. But do you want to hear something really scary? God is actually...
I don't know. Do I? Hold on.
Do you want to hear something really scary? God is actually going to do that one day, but he's being...
Oh, okay, so you're saying the problem is, well, if God would do that, then he'd have to like wipe all you out, and like as if like, well, that would be a terrible thing. That's why he doesn't do it. Now, like, oh, but he is going to do that. It's like, pick a fucking lane, my dude. Oh, it hurts.
God is actually going to do that one day, but he's being patient and he's waiting for you and I to repent and to come to the Lord Jesus Christ, the only one who can cancel out all of this pain and make everything new, because he died on the cross and he rose from the dead. So,
moving on, it's just like,
well, so if God can just cancel it out and make everything new, then again, why didn't he do that like thousands of years ago? Like, why?
Why was it only a one and done? Like, if he can do that, why doesn't he keep doing it? Like, why doesn't he just keep coming back and sacrificing himself? Like,
yeah, or I mean, I would make it. Why doesn't he do it like at all? Like, there's I saw this meme where like some Christian posted like there is like it listed all these things, like there is a cure for disease, there is an answer to war and suffering, there is a relief for blah 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 blah, like and a cure for all these things. It's Jesus. And someone like responded like, oh, well, if he's the cure for all these things, when's he going to publish his work? Or my response is always, or when is he actually going to, actually cure these things? Like, all these things are still happening.
So God had to kill himself in order to save us from sin. Isn't that kind of God admitting it's my fault?
Yeah, or that like sin is like really, really powerful, like like too powerful that he can't just overcome it without him dying because of it.
But also so weak that all he has to do is literally a nothing act, because like he can't be killed. So I mean,
that's the thing. Like, people say, like, did he really die if he came back 3 days later? Because that's kind of not death if you're like not dead anymore.
No, he was totes dead.
Yeah, or they say, well, okay, because here's the story: is like, the punishment for our sin is eternal damnation, separation. from God. But we're told, but Jesus paid our penalty. So the penalty is eternal separation forever in hell. So I'm like, so does that mean Jesus is like still in hell right now and
Shouldn't
is suffering
Jesus still
forever?
be there?
It's like
And
no,
now
he
there's
came
no
back.
room for anyone else because Jesus is the bestest.
Right. And his suffering is just so immense because he does everything bigly.
Right. God suffers forever for making sin. This makes complete sense.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best at everything, so he's probably the best at suffering too.
Oh, he's the best at hell for sure.
Yeah. Oh man, he totally wins at hell. But but I'm like, okay, so if you're telling me that my deserved punishment is an eternity of suffering, but then you're telling me Jesus paid my penalty, I'm like, so he's still there suffering? No, he came back after 3 days. I'm like, then I don't think he actually paid my penalty. If he,
yeah, he just had a long weekend down there.
Yeah, it's like, was that all that was going to happen to me? Is like, I just go for a few days and come back and it's all good? Like,
no, yours is forever.
Again, none of it makes sense. So, all right, well, we're almost done with him. So,
he died on the cross and he rose from the dead. So, have you been forgiven, or will God have to deal with you when he comes back to judge?
When he comes back to
have I been forgiven? Isn't that up to God?
What's in that picture? Yeah, isn't it up to God?
Yeah, it's like, here let's hear this full.
So, have you been forgiven, or will God have to deal with you when he comes back to judge the earth? And if you
well, here's the thing, like, no, God will not have to deal with me if he forgives me.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's like, why do I have to do something before he's able to forgive me?
Right? Like,
that's like,
again,
it's like we have the power of God's forgiveness, but like in the way that like he can't have it if we don't let him. Like, what?
Yeah, it just makes absolutely no goddamn sense.
How did nobody think this?
You need more
years.
What's that?
How did nobody think this through for 2,000 years?
Well, because you can't think it through, because then you're using your faulty judgment and leaning on your own understanding, which you're not supposed to do.
Why is God coming back to a flaming rune circle? It's like when God comes back, what? Because of black magic? What's happening?
Yeah, like, I mean, because again, maybe because like, again, upcoming, and also lately I just had Elden Ring on the mind, but this looks like an arena where I fought a dragon, which is pretty badass. But yeah, that's the thing. Like in Elden Ring, like there's a lot of dragon enemies, but like all their names end in sax, like SAX, because I guess like in Latin or whatever, it's something with stone. That means like stone something, and like all the dragons are like made of stone. But yeah. I don't know why I went on that mini tangent, but yeah, that was a thing that I found interesting. So
it was a journey.
There you go. Oh, I think it's because like that. So it's names like Placidusax and Lanisax and
Placidusax
and Fortisax. So in my head, like I come up with like all these other names, like like the Potato Sax and Punch in the Sax and Kenny G's Alto Sax and. And I was very proud of myself for those. So there's that. Anyway,
I don't know why that made me think of that. I don't know where I heard it, but it was somebody's made up name for Hercules. They called him Chesticles. I think it was from a Cartoon Network cartoon. That there was like a Hercules kind of character, and they called him Chesticles.
I like it. It makes sense. Oh yeah, except for like, but then like the main like big dragon fight in the DLC for Elden Ring, like you have all these, like I said, all these dragon names like Lanisax and Granisax and Placidusax, and but then the big dragon fight in the DLC is named just Bale. It's like, I mean, it's an amazing, like one of the best boss fights ever, and probably in any video game. But yeah. I'll get into more of that later, maybe when we're talking about Elden Ring. But yeah. Anyway.
To judge the earth. And if you need more reminders like this in your feed, please do subscribe. Stick.
If I need... Okay. Apparently, to know that like God is going to come back and judge me for things like that are on like his standards, like for his reasons, for issues that he has with me. Apparently, what I need to do
He
to
made
be
up the rules
reminded of,
too.
but apparently what I need to do to be reminded of that is to subscribe to this asshole's channel and hear him talk about it. Like, why can't God just, if God has a problem with me, why can't he tell me? Why does this doofus need to? But I've had enough of his dumb face. But all right, so any other thoughts on that before we also got some John Lennox we could get to if you want. But
who's I don't know. I'm distracted because my beard's graying out right here, and it makes it look on the camera like I've got like this like missing patch of hair.
But it's just a little lighter. Yeah. Where I think actually on camera my beard actually maybe looks fuller than it actually is. Because in real life it's actually kind of like thin and scraggly, but on here it looks decent-ish.
Or I'm just bad at trimming my beard. That also is possible.
Yeah. See, that's why I just don't. I just let it go, and this is what this is what it does. So, all right. So, yeah. So
My mic.
there, I unmuted you. You're good. Well, any other thoughts on? Oh,
on Off the Curb. Kind of a snake oil salesman.
a bit. So I think your audio may have switched to your buds because, like, as you were moving your hoodie around, I was hearing some.
Probably did.
Be back now.
But yeah. So yeah, that sounds better. So did he answer the problem of evil in that less than a minute?
Well, he said, it's like his answer was look in the mirror. Like, it's like, how could a good God send people to hell? I don't know. Look in the mirror. Like, that was kind of the answer.
Which again, like, so they don't actually express it this way, but really, when you listen to a lot of apologetics, whether it's about the problem of evil or like so many other things, but like the way they're talking about it is basically as if God didn't make all of this. It's almost like we are just a situation that was already like occurring and he just happened upon it and had to figure out a way to fix it. And this is just what he came up with. It's like,
or he's powerless to change it if we make mistakes.
Yeah, because like so much apologetics essentially boils down to like, well, what do you expect him to do? Like, whatever needs to be done because he's fucking God. like,
what do you expect him to? You know, that sounds like you're trying to make the man with no legs walk. I mean, what's he gonna do? What's God gonna do? Like,
it's like as if I can be too demanding of an all-powerful being who also apparently loves me and wants to do things to help me, but like
but you're in his way.
I'm expecting too much. Like, that it just hurts. So, all right. So we had so that was, I think, one end of the apologetic spectrum, which is just like, I mean, just completely like non-professional. Like this isn't like a scholar, or this is just like some dude who feels like he has shit to say. So what do you say? At least maybe by way of maybe a little palate cleanser, we go to the other end of the spectrum. So someone who he may be a doctor. He's at least a scholar, professor dude, but I think he's his specialty is mathematics, but he loves talking about science and why all these scientists are wrong because he's smart. So what do you say we listen to some of Mr. John Lennox?
Okay.
All right. So now again, high hopes for this one because I mean, right here in the title, it's like it says, "Audience erupts when John Lennox said this to Peter Singer." So like, ooh, so this is going to be good right here. Now, I haven't fully watched this, but it kind of like the preview was kind of playing. I was reading some of the subtitles, so I think I kind of know where this is going. Also, I just noticed this is on the channel of Dr. James Tour. Like,
I'm not familiar with him.
what? Good, don't be. Is such a fucking moron. Anyway, all right. Well, let's hear what did John Lennox say to Peter Singer. So Peter Singer, I'm only vaguely familiar with him. I think like atheist probably. I guess he was in a debate with him. One thing I know about Peter Singer, he's like a big in like animal rights type of stuff. So for him, like the whole like problem of animal suffering is also a big problem.
Okay.
Like the problem of evil discussion, whatever. But so which is a interesting angle to take on it that I think a lot of Christians kind of ignore. So it's cool to bring up. But yeah, but let's hear what John Lennox, mathematician, had to say to Peter Singer.
While he shows some legs.
I debated Peter Singer and I told the audience that my parents were believers. My first contact with Christianity was through my parents. And he came back and he said, well, there you are. That's my biggest objection to religion.
Is it just a coincidence that John is a Christian when his parents were Christians?
And I thought, this is going to be real fun. When I got the opportunity to speak, I said, Peter, I told people honestly where I'm coming from, but you didn't.
Peter, can I ask you, were your parents atheists?
He said, yes, they were. Oh, I said, so you have...
Why didn't he play him saying that, though? Mm-hmm. Like, what did he... Well, first of all, I'm willing to take for granted because, again, like I know where this dumb fucking argument is going, so I'm, like, willing to grant it. But, like, if that's what he said and you're already playing clips, why didn't you play him saying that? But, or I guess this is James Tour putting this together. So, okay, that explains it, why he didn't.
This is a common apologist things to do where they make themselves sound like the super reasonable, but also like cheerfully condescending.
Yeah.
And then the person they're debating never sees it coming. And they're like, because this was like how stupid they are. They never considered this until I asked them this question. And,
yeah. So
I think I know what Peter Singer would say in response to this.
Yeah. I mean, at least I know I would. Yeah. So let's just hear it play out to see if he even addresses that at all, which probably doesn't, but
yes, they were. Oh, I said, so you have remained in the faith in which you were brought up.
It's not a faith, in my view.
Oh, well, of course it's a faith. Don't you believe it?
And cyberspace...
Words mean things.
Right. And because there's like, so words have like what you might consider like they're like strict, like official definitions, but that like, so I might say, okay, well, I might say just like in everyday use, okay, well, I have faith in this person, or I have faith that this will happen. But when you use the phrase that someone has a faith, like that means something very different and like very specific.
And this is like literally the lack of faith in something. And so,
yeah, I mean,
and then you're like lacking something is also a belief. And it's like, what?
Yeah, I mean, like even for myself, who, like I said, I actually will go to the step of I am perfectly comfortable saying I believe there is no God. Like I'm comfortable saying that, but even if I would say I believe that, or even if I would use the term like I have faith that, like that is still not what most people when they talk about having a faith, like that is not what most people mean. They usually mean in a very positive sense, like an entire like system of beliefs, like a religion, but when it comes to just an individual question or an individual issue or whatever, it's saying like, well, I just have faith that this is the case. Like, so trying to equate the two is they're just not the same thing at all. So, but then I have another issue with this argument, like beyond that. But
in my view,
Oh, well, of course it's a fact. Don't you believe it?
And cyberspace went
But he
mad at
doesn't
that
write his
point. Here is
response.
one of the world's most famous philosophers from Princeton, and he doesn't see that his atheism is a belief system.
Or
Wait,
you
so he-
don't see that it isn't.
so he didn't. Okay, so like I said, I didn't watch this whole thing. So I thought he was going to go more towards like, well, if you're discounting my belief because of my parents, well, I'm going to discount yours because that's what your parents thought. Like
That would make more logical sense to go that route.
but even that is a terrible argument because I mean, I guess on atheism, that's the phrase people use, like children believing whatever their parents believe like makes sense, like that's what's to be expected.
Mhm.
But if John Lennox's faith, Christianity is true, then it shouldn't matter like what your parents believe or like what part of the world you came, because this is a very common argument I hear atheists make against like Christianity or other such religions, where the idea that what a person believes seems to be very much, at least statistically, determined by like basically what part of the world they live in. Like depending on where you live in the world, you're much more likely to be of a certain religion or no religion or whatever.
Mhm.
But they say, well, but then they try to turn that around on atheists and say, well, then it's like they think they're saying, well, just because this belief comes from a certain part of the world, then it's not true. It's like, well, atheism is more popular in the parts of the world you came from. It's like, no, that's not the argument. They think they call it like the genetic fallacy, like because like saying something's wrong because of where it came from, but that's completely missing the point of the argument. The argument is like, again, if what you're saying about God is true, then it shouldn't matter what part of the world or what your upbringing was. Like belief in God should be pretty ubiquitous, or at least like evenly spread, like no matter where people are from. But again, like if there is no God, then the fact that it actually really does matter where you grew up and what your parents believed, like that makes total sense that kind of basically determines what your beliefs are. But it's like he had that, which was already a fucking terrible argument, but at least you could make it sound intellectual. And then he just like completely bypassed that. Like, no, I'm going straight for the even dumber argument of like, oh, yours is a faith too, just like mine. It's like, God, fucking damn it.
He just did two. It's the equivalent of saying like 2 times in a row, I know you are, but what am I? He's like,
Right? Yeah.
he says, like your parents were Christians, so it makes sense you're a Christian. Like it's not because, it's more because that's your context and your narrative you grew up in versus you made like a real conscious choice at some point for this to be your reality. And so when Singer points that out, he says something like, he's like, you're just a product of your Christian parents, and he throws back, well, I know you are, but what am I? Like it doesn't really answer the objection at all, or
plus,
the argument.
I mean, plus I guess he's lucky in his case that actually was the case, because like if he were to ask that to you or me, like, Matt, were your parents atheists?
No.
Neither were mine. Okay, so John, what's your argument with us? It's like,
he's just dodging.
Yeah,
thinking he's brilliant while he does it.
Yeah, all right. I'm done with his dumb face.
It's like, you just did a thought stopping technique and called yourself brilliant. Like,
yeah.
The whataboutism. That's a fallacy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. That whole like, it's like Christians don't understand like how they come off as like basically admitting that like having faith is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like if it's like they're using it as an attack, but yeah.
I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you.
Only except like in this case, like you're both glue, so it sticks to both of you, but you're only yeah.
Well, as long as we both threw poo at each other, we're even. And they're like if we both lose, I win. Like what?
It's like, that's what a sadist says. But
It's true.
Which that reminds me of this is totally off topic, but just from a discussion between Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris that I thought was fantastic. And again, this is, I guess, giving credit to something that Jordan Peterson said, which I don't usually do, especially in those kind of conversations. But they were talking about like morality and how we like can have a basis of like ethics and morals and whatever. And they were talking about like, well, just because things cause harm, is that it? But Sam Harris was like, okay, but if you have like a group of sadists and a group of masochists, like, is it wrong for like the one to hurt the other, like if they like it? But then, so I mean, that's an interesting question. But then Jordan Peterson, like, this is probably like one of the very few things he said that I thought was actually like pretty brilliant and like genuinely funny. He's like, and he said, well, yeah, but if they were true sadists, then they wouldn't, because they realized they liked it. Like, okay, that is a fantastic and hilarious point.
Yeah.
So give him credit where credit is due. And there, I think I'm done complimenting Jordan Peterson for the rest of my life now. Was that
a while ago? That conversation?
Within the past couple of years. I don't remember exactly when it was. But
was that like before he started his all meat diet?
I honestly don't remember. But anyway, people can look it up.
He looks like an angry pickle now.
Right? But I have heard of people doing the all meat thing and it actually working for them, but like, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, so that was first drink, and I don't know, was that cathartic for you, Matt? Was that helping you with the troubles?
I don't know. I had a day, so
yeah.
It was fun to laugh and make fun of them.
Yeah, it's always good to be a terrible person. I mean, what? So, all right. Well, speaking of terrible people, I want to pay off on a tease. So I mentioned earlier, my love of the video game Elden Ring, and of course, sure.
Wait, we're gonna do second drink.
Oh yeah, second drink. What's your second drink?
Same as the first.
Yeah, me too. Actually, it is a box, so
I gotta reach over here.
Yep. Totally nonchalant and.
It's not quite as cold.
Well, it's a stout, so that's probably all right. Yeah. I think stouts are supposed to be closer to room temperature.
Yeah.
Or cellar temperature. I mean, you're in a basement. That's like a cellar. There you go.
There is.
All right. So speaking of earlier, my love for the video game Elden Ring and my hatred for Elon Musk, both of these worlds like rather humorously collided. When was this? So this was a couple years ago. This was closer to when Elden Ring actually came out, which was back almost 2 years ago now. But I just now started playing it because that's how with the times I am. So apparently Mr. Musk has, not just with Elden Ring, but other games, has been kind of like posturing himself as some sort of like master gamer. But the more people have like looked into these claims, as far as like, and like whenever I guess maybe he sometimes would like, whether like on live streams or whatever, like people could like watch him playing these games, but like when people are actually watching him play it, they're like, he seems like he doesn't actually know what he's doing.
Like he's trying to pick up items that he can't pick up yet because he's not.
Yeah, doesn't realize his inventory's full. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I saw people theorizing like, it seems like he's basically hiring other gamers to play for him under his profile. Mm-hmm. But even if that's the case, like so a couple of years ago, I guess, like I don't remember exactly when Elden Ring came out. I think this was probably close to release. So, but of course he felt like, well, I'm gonna show everyone what my build is. So people who aren't familiar with the games, like the lingo, because I wasn't for not too long ago. Build basically means like, okay, what are your character's stats? Like what kind of equipment and weapons and armor are you rocking? So he took to X or Twitter, which again, so ironic that all these people could say, oh, Twitter, it's called X now, but they're having trouble like with people's pronouns or if they're trans and they go by a different name now. Like that's
I like how everybody either still calls it Twitter or they call it Twitter X. Like it's the evil Twitter.
Right. Yeah. So on the X, formerly known as Twitter, or
people are going to do this forever.
All right. So he posted his build, and apparently, like I said, at the time, I wasn't as familiar with the game, so I didn't really know. But apparently, people who were familiar with Elden Ring, like, just immediately just started just roasting it, saying, like, this is, like, the dumbest build ever. So now that I am familiar with the game, like, I can look at it and see exactly, okay, yeah, this is dumb. Like, I do not understand, like, how... All right, so here's someone else like sharing it. I just love their comment. It says, much like a Tesla, Elon Musk's Elden Ring build quality is shit. So, all right, so here's like his actual. Okay, so it's two different images here. So I'll bring these up. Sorry, I'll switch back to this view so you can see a little better. Get rid of that. All right, so for the people not familiar with Elden Ring or these types of games, they're kind of called like the Souls or the Soulsborne games. Also, the people who made Elden Ring also made the very famous or infamous, depending on your view, Dark Souls series, other games like Bloodborne, Sekiro, Demon Souls. Basically, a lot of these games like known for like their difficulty and like they're kind of like RPG-ish, but like they're not to the level of like something like a Final Fantasy where it's all like the turn-based combat. It's still like very much.
I'm not into the Final Fantasy.
Yeah, no, I never got into those, but this is still very much like the like action adventure, like you're just a player going through the world with like very like medieval fantasy type.
Is there crafting involved?
In Elden Ring there is, in like in some of the others not as much. But yeah,
I do like some crafting.
No, yeah, it was a fun thing they put in, and also Elden Ring is like open world. That was also a pretty fun thing.
Yeah, crafting open world. There you go.
Yeah. So anyway, to kind of give people a layout of the screen. Okay, so these first three, I don't know if people can see my mouse. It looks like they maybe can't. All right, so starting at the top left, you see there's an item highlighted. Like those three, like the first three items across the top left. Those are like all the weapons or items that are held in your right hand, and then right below that you see a couple shields, like those three. Yeah, those three slots are your left hand. Then this next row of four, that's like whatever armor. So there's like your headpiece, your body armor, your like gloves or gauntlets, and your boots or leggings there. And then under that, there's another four items. Those are like different talismans you can have like equipped. They like different buffs, like some like will increase your health or increase certain attributes or increase your attack under these situations, like increase your defense, like all kinds of various different things you can throw in there. And then all across the bottom there, like those bottom 10 slots, those are just things that are in your kind of like quick select menu. So like I think I play on Xbox, so I think if like whichever one of these items you have active, like if you just hit X, it does that. I think on PlayStation, I think it might also be X. I don't know, I haven't played PlayStation in decades. Anyway. So that's what he's got here. And then on the second screen, like here's like his stats, like his vigor, that's your health, basically. Mind, like that's like for games where you have like magic abilities, that's kind of like your FP or mana bar. So basically, if you like cast a spell or like shoot off an incantation or whatever you're doing, like that costs a certain number of FP. So that determines like how much FP you have. Like endurance, it's your endurance. And then there's things like strength, dexterity, which depending on like what kind of weapons you have, different weapons, like the more strength you have, the stronger they are. Other weapons, the more dexterity you have, the stronger they are, depending on what kind. Intelligence, that's usually like the higher intelligence that increases like your magical spell strength. The faith is more for like the incantations, like other Souls games. There's totally blanking on what they're called. I'm an expert. And same with like arcane, like there's other items or spells or whatever that scale with
that
arcane.
sounds like a magic thing.
Yeah, but that's also like more like your item discovery. So like say like as you like defeat enemies, like how likely they are to like drop valuable items when you defeat them, that kind of thing. Then your HP, that's your health. So your FP, that's your magic bar, and then here's how much stamina.
Oh, so you only have a certain amount of FP to distribute across those categories?
Well, the FP is like basically anytime like you cast like a spell or an incantation, like each spell costs a certain number of FP.
Oh, okay, that's what we were talking about before. Okay.
Yeah, so like some spells might cost like 12 FP. So if you have 221, then in your bar, okay, you can cast that spell however many times 12 goes into 221. And of course, and you can refill these things, but I'll get into that later. And then stamina, that's like anytime you do an action, it costs a certain amount of stamina. And then if you run out, you have to wait for it to reload, which in combat, that's a very like tricky thing to kind of. So, but here's one of the main things that look at the equip load. So in these games, like if your equipment load, so that basically any piece of armor, any weapon that you're carrying, like has a certain, and even like the talismans have a certain weight number assigned to it. And if basically in these games, I think it's if you're above 70% of your total equip load, then you'll start doing what's called fat rolling. So another like big thing with these games is like that's like how you dodge attacks is like there's a roll, and when you roll you have a certain number of invincibility frames, meaning like for a certain number of frames while you're rolling, whatever attack, like even if it actually hits you, it won't cause any damage. So that's basically like your main dodge mechanic. But if your equip load is over 70%, and like how here it says heavy load, like that's what that's indicating is like you'll do what's called fat rolling. One, like your roll will be a lot slower, and then also you have a much shorter amount of your roll that you'll be invincible. So basically, if you're fat rolling, you're going to take a lot of damage. So that's important to note. Also, okay, so but let's see, and so he says. Equipped load will be lower if fast roll is needed. Now, here's the thing to know about these games, like what he calls fast roll, that's not really a thing. It's basically just you have fat roll or normal roll. And like normal roll is like what you want. Because like I said, in these games, like that's how you dodge attacks is by rolling, basically. Or like one of the best ways to. So it's like, so if what he's calling, if fast roll is needed, okay, well, that's basically the entire game. Fast roll is needed. But then you look at like, okay, what's making his equip load so high? First of all, he's carrying 2 shields, which is not necessary, like at fucking all. Like you might
like
need
one is
shields.
All you need. Basically,
yeah, now different shields like have different stats. Now I actually happen to know the 2 shields he's using here, and these are actually probably 2 of the ones I use the most. But I'm only using one at a time because it's like depending on what situation you're in. Because I know like this one he has here, like this is the one like I found that's probably one of the best just all around shields in the game. Because also different shields have different stats as far as like what kinds of damage they like deflect the best against, whether it's just regular physical damage or like fire damage, magic damage, lightning damage.
I like the best all around equipment.
Yeah. Yeah, and also this one, it's just a good all around shield. Now I will use this one because this one here does have a much higher like magic damage defense.
Ooh.
So that's super helpful. But like in certain areas, like in Elden Ring, like in like certain areas, like have like some enemies that will deal more magic damage, or some enemies that'll deal more fire or lightning damage or whatever. So you kind of change your build based on where you're at, or at least that's how I do it. So, but having two equipped at once makes no sense, especially if that is making your load like too heavy. Plus, also you look at the armor he has here. So it looks like based on, and I don't think he said here. Yeah, he didn't say here, but basically in other places, he made it sound like he's trying to go for a more of like a mage build or like a magic user build. Mm-hmm. Which, okay, some of the things on here make perfect sense for that. Like I know like the helmet that he has here, like that's one that like increases your intelligence, which is like your so like the strength of your sorceries and stuff. But like this other armor he has here is some of the heaviest armor in the game. That like if you're usually like doing a mage build, you're usually doing like lighter armor because
like medium at most for that kind of
thing. Because like the name of the game with a mage build is like you're attacking from distance, so like you don't really need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's more of a support role.
Yeah, and well, I mean, in this game, like the whole like support thing, it's mostly like a one player, so like you're.
True, but I'm.
But yeah,
but as far as like across video games, like a magic or magic user or mage.
Yeah, basically, the point of doing like a magic or mage build is like so you can attack from a distance, so you aren't as. So basically, if you're doing it right, you're not getting hit as often as like just a pure melee, which I usually do, just regular melee, just like what they call a sword and board, sword and shield, whatever. Like, because for me, like all the rest of that stuff, yeah, it's great, especially like in Elden Ring, like all the, like the spells and stuff in this game are fantastic. But for me, that's like too much to like keep track of, especially like with the bar. Because I'm always like, okay, I have these spells, but like with the bar, there's like essentially only have a certain number of times I can cast a spell, but I can swing my sword as many fucking times as I want. So that's what I usually go with. But okay, so again, so his armor, like the helmet makes sense for a mage build, but like the rest of this like armor now. I use this armor a lot, but like I said, because I don't play as a mage, I play as much more like a strength melee build. So this armor is great for that, but not for what he's doing. Now, as far as his weapons that he has, like up here, okay, you can see my mouse now for some reason. So this is like his staff. Okay, that's what you use to actually like cast like the sorceries, and that's I don't remember. Oh, it's the Lucette's glintstone staff. That's a good staff. So that was a good choice, but. And this weapon makes sense because this is another one I've used sometimes. It's a katana that has like also does magic damage, so it scales with intelligence, so it makes sense to use along with a magic build. But then this sword here in the middle, it's a rapier. It's just a regular like thrusting sword. Like on a mage build, like it makes no sense for him to be carrying both of these, like because usually like if I carry like multiple like. So like in my build, I'm usually carrying two different melee weapons, but it's usually they're like very different. Like I'll usually have like a much heavier one and then a lighter one. So because like in some areas, like you're fighting both like, heavily armored knights and like dogs or rats or something that are like really quick. So I need to like move back and forth between like, my big heavy weapon for the knights and then like the smaller, quicker one for like the faster enemies. But this, it's like, okay, these are both like small, faster swords. It's like
why have two?
Yeah, especially this one because like if you have this one he has here on the right that like I said has like does magic damage and scales with intelligence, that makes sense. But having this one as well, especially again given the fact that he's running a heavy load, this makes no damn sense. So
yeah, if you got heavy armor, then okay, now you're a heavy and you get your heavy weapons and that's your deal.
Right. Yeah. So this. Okay, so now let's get down to like the talismans that he. Well, but before we get to the talismans, I want to get to like the bottom, like the whole like I forget what exactly this is called. Like I said, I am by no means any expert on these, but like I said, I'm not the one out there trying to portray myself as some sort of master gamer. So if I like forget what things are called, or I was gonna. I mean, if I posted pictures.
Sorry.
if I said if I posted pictures of my build, I'm sure plenty of people would roast me as well, because like my stats are kind of, because like basically the way I play the game is like I said, like so many different weapons, like they scale like with different stats. So, but like I would find a new weapon, it's like, oh, I really like this weapon. Oh, but this scales with different stats. So I would like build into that stat to use that weapon until I found another weapon that like scaled with completely different stats. Like, oh, now I'll scale these. So like my stats are like all over the place just based on whatever weapon I found at the time, because ADHD. So anyway, so I'll call it like the little quick select. So basically in these bottom 10 like tiles here, like, and you can, and so I play on Xbox. So on the D-pad, like on the down button, like you hit that'll basically scroll through all of these. So basically, but usually like whatever you have in the first slot, that's like your main thing, like that you always want to have available. Because like whatever one of these is active, when you hit the X button, or I think it's also an X on PlayStation, like you use that item. So, and like I said, anyone knows like the Souls games, as these are called, like one of the items you get like right at the beginning of the game is your healing flasks, where it's basically you like take a drink of it and like it restores your health, or restores a portion of your health, not the whole thing. Now in these games that's super important, because you're going to take a lot of damage, lose a lot of health in these games because they're very difficult. But like I promise you, go on like any like gamer was like on YouTube, Twitch, wherever that plays any of these games, I guarantee you first slot is their healing flash.
Like, how many hours of playtime do you think it would take to catch on to that? That's just best practice.
5 minutes. Like it's literally like at the beginning of the games, like that's when they give it to you, and like this is your healing flash. This is important. You're gonna want this equipped.
That's a weird kind of cockiness on his part. That he
because here's the thing:
almost none of the game and fool people. Like,
no, but here's the thing: like he's apparently played a lot, because if his level is 111. Like
right,
that
he paid
is after,
somebody to boost his scores.
Like level 111, like people can like beat the game on that level. Like that is like end game. Like this is like I have been, especially like if you look at like his intelligence, like he has it up at 68. Like that is very high. But
his so I guess some of his game folders were in Chinese, and so the thinking is that the gamer he paid, their first language is Chinese.
Right.
And like apparently like paying people to level up your character is not an unusual thing for people with the money to do. But that's if you have the money, I think you would do that because you are a very casual player and you want to be able to play it at different stages in the game, but you don't want to or don't have the time to get there. And so you pay somebody to get you there. And I heard somebody comment, and this is a great point, that it wouldn't have been that much of a big deal if he was just like, I paid. He's like, I paid somebody to level me up, and like, and
right, okay.
And we were like, oh, that sucks because you're rich, but also maybe I would do that too. You know,
right? Yeah, but okay, so all right. So first of all, like not only so he doesn't have, like I said, one of the most basic items, like the thing everyone has in their number one slot. Not only is it not in his number one slot, he doesn't even have it equipped at all. Now, there's a second type of flask. So the first flask you drink and it restores some of your health. The second type you drink and it restores some of your FP or your magic bar or your mana, depending on like what kind of game. He doesn't have that equipped either. As a mage build, he does not have your flask that restores his ability to do more magic. Like, how? But
it almost feels like a troll. Like he's doing this on purpose, but he also seems embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like
now,
that's how far up his own ass he is.
Now, so here's the thing that I haven't heard other people talk about, but for me, like in my head, this scenario that I've like had play out in my head just uses me so much. So, okay. So, but if you look at like, so this row here, like the different talismans he has equipped. Now, this is, okay, of all the, like I said, there's, I think a total of 4 things on this screen that, okay, I'll give 5 things on this screen that actually make sense. One is like, okay, he's a mage. He's got his staff here. That's a good staff. Okay, and then I think it's called the Moonveil Katana for a mage build. If like to have is like your melee weapon to go along with it, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's kind of all right.
Now, one of these shields would be good to have, but like one of them. This helmet for a mage build makes sense. Another thing is like this talisman right here. This I don't remember what it's called, but it boosts the power of your sorceries. Okay, that makes total sense. The other one that makes sense is this one, but I'll get to that later. Okay, but here's the thing that like amuses me. So this talisman here, one that just increases your overall total health. Now, why that cracks me up is because what I'm imagining, like, and his reasoning for using that talisman was, he's like, man, I'm like fat rolling, I'm not able to dodge, and I'm taking a lot of damage, but I don't know how to heal. Oh, I know, I'd better just increase my health. It's like, apparently that was his fix for not being able to dodge roll effectively and not being able to replenish his health. He's like, oh, I'll just increase my max health. Never mind the fact that this talisman here actually decreases your health because like it boosts other stats
at the expense,
but here's the thing, the stats that I don't remember exactly which stats this one boosts, but it are ones that are not helpful for a mage build. So he's lowering his own health only to counteract it by boosting it and then not giving himself a way to replenish it. And this one like it increases like the level, like the speed at which his stamina recovers. But again, like as a mage, like you're probably not burning through a lot of stamina. And also I've noticed like in Elden Ring, at least in my experience, compared to like the Dark Souls games, I played all three of those. And those, it seemed like stamina management was a much bigger deal. Like especially like in boss fights, like I would very frequently have in those games it's rings, but like ring equipped to increase my stamina speed. But like in Elden Ring, that was never really a problem. So I don't know why he's having a problem with that now. So to me, it's just hilarious that he's like completely missing the way to replenish his health. So he's like, I'll just put on the talisman that increases my health. And for him, that was the fix because that's the only way he can figure
that just
out.
Makes it take longer, but it's still happening.
now I will shout. So here's the one other thing in this whole build that I think is actually a good call. So these first three slots, you can tell these kind of like ghostish looking characters. So these are things like, this is one of my favorite things about this game. It's called Spirit Ashes or Spirit Summons. It's basically
like ashes. It's like the ashes of spirits.
Yeah, basically like throughout the game, like in certain areas or after defeating certain enemies or bosses, you can find these things. Basically, it's a way for you to summon like an assistance, like so maybe like in an area, like you defeat this certain kind of enemy, and then you find like this enemy was pretty powerful, and then you can pick up a thing. Now I can summon this enemy to help me whenever, like not whenever you want. There's only certain areas, usually like boss fights, and then other areas where there's like a lot of enemies, you can summon these. So like it's really helpful. Like now it costs something, whether it usually costs like some of your magic power to summon them, and like the good ones are like will cost a lot. But so I will say this third one he has there, that's one of the best ones. It's one I've used a lot. Really powerful knight there, like very helpful in a lot of boss fights and other situations. But like these other summons, like it's like I don't know why he's using, like if he's at level 111, he should have been playing long enough to find much better summons than these. Like compared to like what he should have found, like these summons are completely useless. Like these are like early game, like some of the first stuff you find, like, and then also like these, like this item here on the end, it's like a certain type of like throwing dart, which again, okay, these are actually pretty good, but again, he's at level 111, which I said, this is like, you could beat the game on that level. Like but it's like, but he only has 9. Like this is the thing, like you can hold up to 99 at a time. And also this is an item you can craft. So
just something you don't hold unless you're going to have a lot.
Yeah. It's like, if this is something that's so important that you're having it in your like quick select menu instead of your healing flasks, but you only have fucking 9 of them.
He'd just be like,
Yeah.
and just be done.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. So it was so cathartic for me to just like look at this and be like, this guy has no fucking clue what he's doing. So it's to the point where like I've seen people actually like not only are people talking about this online and just like completely roasting it, but apparently like some people are actually listing at like they're basically considering like playing with the Elon Musk build as like a challenge run. It's like, man, if you can beat the game with the Elon Musk build, like, man, you must be really good. So, questions?
No, I was having fun. Like I was able to actually track with it.
Oh, good.
Because, I've been playing No Man's Sky, and that has a lot of crafting, a lot of like carrying. There's like limited amount of things you can carry and all that kind of stuff. So, like, I'm familiar with like what kind of loadout you have for what kind of thing, and it's like you have a craftable, but like you have a craftable weapon item, but it's also something you can go through pretty quickly, and so you're gonna have a lot of it, because if it's something you can blow through, you don't want to blow through all of it in the middle of a battle when there's no time to go run and craft shit. Like,
right, yeah, because like this thing that he only has 9, like they're throwing darts, so it's something you literally just like throw like really quick, like you burn through them. Especially like with these, like it's like I said, it's a really handy one. If this is the one I'm remembering, like with some enemies, like if you're in like a group of enemies, if you hit one of them like with enough of these, it'll actually turn them against the other ones.
Nice.
It's like, so it's like, okay, you want a lot of these, not just 9. Like, okay, having 9 of these, like, is also like they don't really do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
But like I promise you, like the amount of damage.
Well, then you
doing,
need to
like,
shoot a lot of them. Like,
so it's like, so I promise you, like the amount of damage he's doing by shooting 9 of these, like I guarantee you, he's going to do more than that with like one spell cast. Oh, here's the other thing. Speaking of like him being like a mage build apparently and playing for long enough to be at level 111. Okay, so across the bottom here, these 5 slots, those are like the different spells that he has active. And there's 5. Now, another thing you can do throughout the game is like these are called your memory slots. You see here, like, so the way this game like treats like when you like learn spells or incantations, like when you like are resting at a checkpoint to like change which different spells you have active, it calls it like memorized spell. So the way it is in the game, it's like, okay, now I'm memorizing this spell so I can, yeah. So I think it's kind of cool the way they do it. But anyway, so he has 5. Like I said, after a pretty high level, 111. Again, this is enough to get through the entire game. One of the things you can do in the game is collect more memory slots. You can have up to 12. And the fact that like at level 111, he still only has 5 as a mage build is fucking ridiculous.
This almost looks like he paid somebody to hack the game.
Yeah, it's
and they forgot to give him, the full 12 slots.
Yeah, like, so for instance, like I said, like, so I play, like, I use magic, but for me, it's just more like a supplemental, like, I'll just use every now and then, like, just kind of for fun. Like, I'm mainly just a melee. Like, I have 10 slots. Like, not even, like, specifically, like, seeking them out. Just, like, as I'm exploring the world, or, like, you can buy, like, the slots, like, from different vendors. Just, like, as I'm going around, like, I just, like, without really purposefully doing it, like, I have 10. And it's like, but you would think if you were a mage build, this is something you are seeking out, like, because, but, it's just, it hurts.
It's a conundrum. It really doesn't seem like anybody, like, there isn't a single party involved in making this happen for Elon that was doing a good job. Like
Right?
if you paid somebody to hack it or somebody at the development team or whatever to hack it, then like maybe they fucked him over a little bit on purpose because they're like, I'm gonna take your
Yeah.
money, but also fuck you. And so they only gave him like 5 slots instead of the obvious amount he should have.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like I have to say, because people have brought this up, like it doesn't show up like on these menus, but like in Elden Ring, like there's also another kind of like quick access like option. You can also load some of these items, like including your healing flasks. So someone's like, well, maybe he just loaded it into one of those. It's like, okay, maybe, but again, that's like super like not the best way to do that because basically that involves hitting, like in this other like quick access, like I said, for these, like whichever one's like loaded and active, like you just hit one button and you're using it automatically. So, but now you can hit another button to scroll through them, but like I said, with your healing one, you always have that like slot one, because especially like in the middle of battle, like you want to be able to just hit a button and heal like super quick. But like in the other quick select that people are talking about, you actually have to hit 2 buttons, because like you have to, okay, hold down this button, okay, and then hit like an arrow button on your D-pad. It's like, it's so like not an efficient way. So if you are doing it, so someone's, well, maybe he has it equipped in that like quick select menu. It's like, okay, maybe, but again, that would make no sense for him to do it that way. Like that's like the worst. Like that's usually like for me, like that's where I have like these like spirit ashes, like that's where I have, that's what I have loaded on that on that like quick select menu. But
What does it say about where we are? We're like the way to explain this oligarch king is you're like, well, maybe he's bad in this way. Like that's where we are. It's just like it's just like a different kind of bad at things. Like it's not like it's not the benefit of the doubt. It's just like, okay, maybe it's this other more palatable bad thing. Like
yeah, so for me, like I said, just knowing like all the bullshit that this man has been like doing, and so for me it was just kind of cathartic to like have this as a way to, well, there's at least one way that I'm a better person, that I'm like a better person than he is, or a better gamer, or whatever you want to say. Like I said, like I'd wanted to like post, since I was like dogging him for his build, like thinking I might like post my build, but I just haven't taken any pictures of it or stills or whatever. But I still might, if anyone is interested in what my Elden Ring build is. Like first of all, like it changes like all the time, like depending on like where I am in my playthrough, what area, because also like I'll change up my outfit like for bosses. But I guess like to give people in general, if anyone's curious, like if anyone actually wants to see, like I'll post shots later or just send them to you, or if you're a friend, whatever. But yeah, generally what I go for, like my main weapon has been the blasphemous blade that you get from defeating Rykard, because that sword is just like fucking awesome, and I love the name. Like I said, usually using I think it's called the brass shield. That's kind of my default. So yeah, so I'll use the blasphemous blade as like my bigger, like harder hitting sword. But then as my secondary, that's the one I really go like switch through a lot. I was using the Stormhawk axe for a long time, or the mace, because like bleed damage in this game is like super powerful. I think currently I have the blanking on the name, but it's like the katana that does like blood flame damage. It's like super good. And I also love like, so all the weapons in this game, like they'll have like what they call ashes of war, or like a special like weapon skill like thing that it'll do. And for this katana that I'm thinking of, its ash of war is called the corpse piler, which I think is just like one of the most badass names for a thing ever. But yeah, so that's my weapons, and then also I have this, and then I have there's one of the magic staffs. It's the one you get from defeating Meter from the DLC, but it's the one that's able to cast like sorceries and incantations. Like I said, I use them. I don't
What's the
use
difference?
either. Well, in the game, it's just like just different types of spells. Like the sorceries, like those are primarily like your magic attacks, like shooting.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds more like an attack.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the incantations, like a lot of those are attacks as well, but they're either usually related more to like doing like bleed damage or fire damage or rot damage.
Okay,
Or,
so
but
it's effect
a lot,
damage stuff.
yeah, but they also have a lot of what are considered more like support or healing or buff things, like either like to increase your defense or like to heal or to like increase like your allies' defense or like to like get rid of like poison damage or like a lot of more like supplemental like defensive type of things. But like I said, there are also a lot of like attack incantations as well. But most of your catalysts,
like a card game.
Yeah. So most of your catalysts, that's what you call it, like your staffs, or like for the incantations, a lot of them are called seals. But like they'll only cast sorceries or incantations. But there's this one staff that casts both, and it's actually like. And it does a good job like with both as far as like how strong like it scales with each so that's what I usually have in my third slot here. But so I'll have my shield, then I also use bows a lot, like for range
he has
attacks.
empty slots here. Is that what's going on?
He has one empty slot. These slots over here for like if you have a bow or like crossbow equipped, these are like the different types of arrows.
Oh, okay. So
I guess
those are only for arrows?
Yeah, these are only for arrows.
Okay.
Yeah, so if he's not using a bow, then yeah. But I'm a very heavy bow user. Like I love using that for sniping or
that's great for headshots.
Or what I really use it a lot for is if I'm coming up on a group and maybe if I only want to fight one of them at once, so I'll just like shoot one to kind of draw his attention, so I can basically like take him on one at a time.
Are there like multiple enemy effect arrows? Like in Tomb Raider, there's a poison mushroom arrow that does like a puff of toxin that like takes out like up to 3 or something.
Not quite like that. Like there are poison arrows, but they're like they just affect like whichever enemy you hit with the arrow. Now with it in this game, like there are other kinds. I haven't really done much experimenting with them. I mean, like I know there are like if you have a crossbow and like the different bolts you can have, there are some exploding bolts, but I don't know if they're like exploding as in they actually affect multiple enemies or if it's just the one you hit. But mainly,
fire arrows are fun. Can you set people on fire with arrows?
Yeah, or if they're like, because also like there are like exploding barrels in Elden Ring as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so if you're like find some enemies around those,
like almost without exception, any game that has something like that, there's like a goosh explosion.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
it's always fun to just see them go.
It's pretty fantastic.
Like you get like the fire and the like the percussive damage on them.
Oh yeah, I mean especially like so. I guess one of the things I like using the fire arrows on, like even though like I actually saw like testing it versus regular arrows, I saw the fire arrows actually did slightly less damage, but for me, just psychologically, it felt better to be shooting fire at these things. So if anyone who's played the DLC in Elden Ring in the jail levels, like the enemies like that come out of the giant pots that are like super creepy, I'm just like. Just kill it with fire. I don't. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It or jars. Yeah. It's
no jars is worse.
Yeah. Yeah. There's these like
it doesn't make sense. Kill it.
Yeah. So it's a whole thing. I won't go into it, but
I was just gonna say I think that's probably why like the UFO stuff has been hidden so long, because if people knew the truth, they would want to kill it. But like.
Kill it with fire.
But we can't, and that's a really bad thing to do. But if the people demand that and you don't do it, you're going to have like massive unrest. And so it's kind of like, man, it's a whole layer of things. But it's really weird how like all of the things in human existence have a place in that story. Like this thing about like creepy things coming out of jars, and like that same kind of like human response you could have to real things.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, so that's so for my bow, I usually have the serpent bow because, like I said, there's poison arrows. But like I found out the serpent bow, it actually, like, to a lesser extent than just like shooting a poison arrow, it at least like slightly infuses all of your arrows with a little bit of like poison buildup. So basically, it turns like all your arrows into poison arrows. But it takes more regular arrows to like proc a poison effect on an enemy than if you were just using a regular bow with poison arrows. But then if you are actually shooting poison arrows with this bow, it makes them a lot stronger.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's like, so honestly, like I've actually defeated like multiple different bosses, because taking advantage of like the open world thing and like how they're field bosses is like, all right, well, I see this like giant dragon down in the ravine, but I'm up here on the cliff where he can't get me, but I can hit him with arrows. So I'll just hit him with a few arrows to like proc a poison effect and just wait, because I don't feel like fighting a dragon right now, but I want his stuff. So, and I have patience. So.
Like a proxy war.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So
I
that's
don't
what
want
I
to
use.
fight him, but I also want their stuff. So I'm gonna send something in there to fight for me.
Right. Okay. So again, like, so that's usually what I have my weapons. I'll have usually the blasphemous blade. In the second one, I keep switching. Like right now, I have like whatever the blood flame katana is, and then
You said blood flame? That's kind of fun.
Yeah, blood flame is like an effect or type of attack that
It's
like
their
different
blood on
weapons do.
fire. That would be dark.
Well, no,
as hell.
it's fire that causes a bleeding effect.
Well, it just doesn't make sense because that cauterizes wounds. Although, if it didn't cauterize the wound and it just caused more bleeding, oh, that's freaky.
Yeah, and that's basically what happens. Oh, and
it's like it's not burning up; it's just taking away the skin.
Oh yeah, because especially the way they treat, like, especially like with how you apparently like in game, according to the lore, like how you're using a blood flame attack or effect. One of the bosses is called like Moog, Lord of Blood, but like in his weapon is like he has this spear, and he does this like special move where he like causes like a massive like blood flame effect, but like the motion he does, he's just like stabbing upwards like into the sky, but like where he's stabbing, like there's this like ring of like red mist or whatever. But apparently, like in game, like according to the lore, what he's actually doing is there's one of the like outer gods or whatever is called like the Formless Mother. And basically what he's doing is basically stabbing into the Formless Mother to like draw her blood. And like, so, which is like, oh, that is so badass. but, and then that's one of the weapons I'll use in some boss fights. So again, like I may be a little over leveled, but like the more I looked into it, I don't think this was the case. So I'm on my second playthrough. I'm on New Game Plus. So again, for anyone who knows, for anyone who doesn't know, this isn't going to mean anything to you. But so I recently on my New Game Plus did the Radon fight, that's the one I was telling you, Matt, where it's like the giant guy like riding the tiny horse, which like it looks hilarious, but he's actually like, this isn't going to mean anything to you.
Sorry.
Yeah. So you remember I was telling you about Radon, like the giant boss who's riding the tiny horse, and
yeah.
So everyone know he's like one of the toughest bosses in the game, but basically using that spear like that I got from the other boss, like I forget exactly what that Ash of War is called, but yeah, I basically used it twice and took him out. It was like one of the easiest boss fights ever. I was actually kind of disappointed. I was like, wait, but am I over leveled? But I looked, and apparently the stat that like governs like how effective that attack is, I literally only had it leveled to the minimum requirement to use the weapon. So it shouldn't have been too powerful, but anyway. But yeah, so that's my build is like as far as the weapons, like as far as armor, again, like with a lot of the stuff, my main like body piece that I use is the Black Knife Assassin armor, only for because it gives you like a stealth effect, like your footsteps make no sound, so it makes it a lot easier to sneak up on enemies, and it just looks really cool. But usually, like for the rest of the armor, like for the gloves, I usually have the Briar gauntlets because they like if you roll like with the Briar armor set, like if you're rolling, but if you roll into an enemy, it'll actually do like a little bit of chip and like bleed damage on them. So I keep the gloves on for that. The headpiece, that's when I've been like switching out again, depending on like what other weapons I'm using. Cause like some of the helmets like will increase your strength, other will increase your arcane level or intelligence or whatever. So it's basically just, I kind of swap those out. And then for the legs, I'll just usually go, a lot of times I actually do wear these very same leggings, the Radon boots, because like really good defense, really good poise. But yeah. And then as far as my talismans, I'll have the Air Tree Blessing. It's the one that like increases like all the stats, like your max HP, your stamina, your equip load. Like those are always useful to have. And then yeah, these other three, like I said, I swap out all the time depending on like what else I'm using. But yeah, like I said, if anyone's actually interested in seeing what my build is, I'll let you know. But yeah, like I said, I don't remember / it changes all the time depending on whatever situation I'm in or just whatever mood I'm in. So yeah, well, so that's that. So thanks for indulging me on that, everybody. No, I had fun. I don't know about the rest of you, but
my eyes are really dry. They've been dry like all day. That's like a total lack of segue.
I was just thinking that too. That was fantastic. It was very on brand.
Well, I realized that when you asked that question, all I could think about was how dry my eyes were.
That interesting, huh? Cool.
It must not. It feels humid outside.
Yeah, well, I guess with all the snow and the rain we've been having, yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, we're not done with the waves of snow either. I have a YouTube weather guy, Ryan Hall. Yeah, I think he's from the South, and he said we don't have a caboose on this weather train. He's like I'll keep you updated. He's like, it looks like we're just gonna have like wave after wave of snow, and yeah, it's a weird weather pattern.
Yeah. Now, speaking of which, so an interesting thing about me, I mean, to bring it back to me, because come on, that I've noticed, at least for the past 10 years, this has been something that's happened every winter, like starting in January, like the new year. It always snows again after the first time I wear shorts. Like every single time, like I said, for at least the past 10 years, like the weather, like starting in January, will get to the point where it's warm enough that I wear shorts. And then in like literally every single year after that, it snows again. It happened again this year. So, because I wore shorts for a day back like month, 3 weeks ago, whenever that was, when the weather got like up in like the 60s almost around here, I think. And then, but it snowed several times after that this year. So, or at least twice. I don't remember exactly, but
yeah, and thunder too.
Yeah.
Oh, so all in the same day. Well, actually, within 2 days of each other.
No, yeah, but climate change isn't happening.
No, I heard that it was above freezing at the North Pole in winter in the Northern Hemisphere. Also, it was raining in West Antarctica. And then on that second day, where the same day I heard it was raining in Antarctica, I was like, oh shit. Then it was like 30 something degrees outside and we had thunder. And I was like, oh, my animal spidey senses were like. And then the other night when we had more thunder over,
It's like this seems like the thing that most
night,
animals
like,
run away from.
Yeah, I slept anxious the other night when it was thundering.
Yeah,
and normally it doesn't have that effect on me.
Yeah, normally, like, I love thunderstorms, but yeah, I remember at the same time also feeling like this feels like this shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, and the warming is
Yeah.
is going faster than we expected, and we're already we're like at the point of no return, where like things just get hotter now, and we learned to cope. Like a big part of our country that produces food is going to be experiencing Dust Bowl conditions. So that's fun. Cincinnati will become like subtropical in the summer.
Yeah.
But we know how to rock a dry summer and a humid one, so it's not that big a deal. Except we're gonna have more than one day a year over 100 degrees without a heat index. But we do already have air conditioning in this area, so that's in our favor. There's a lot of places in the country where they don't.
Yeah.
Like Seattle. Seattle's been bad.
Yeah, that's the thing about like Cincinnati and like this whole region. Like it's kind of good in a way, but also kind of sucks. It's like we don't get the extremes of hot and cold, but it's like we get enough of both that like we aren't really able to fully get used to either. Because like you think of like people like up in like Alaska,
yeah.
Yeah, because like you think of like people like up in Alaska, it's like it's cold. So they're like, oh yeah, it snows up here. That's just what it does. We're used to it. Or you think of like people like down in Florida or like Central America, or in India where I've been. Like, yeah, it's just always hot. We're used to it.
Yeah.
Like it's never enough of anything for us to actually get used to it. So like everything sucks.
Mm-hmm. And somehow people still drive like they've never seen heavy rain or snow. Like they're like, I drive the same in both as dry weather, right? And then they just do that, and you're like, that's why you fuckers have accidents. Like we have a lot of accidents for a city of our size.
Well, it's either that or the people like anytime it just like is drizzling a little bit, they're like, oh, I better go 10 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
But then they also,
yeah.
But then it's raining much harder, and you'll see people not apply brakes soon enough, and
or have their lights on, or
right, drive with the parking lights on.
Yeah, or not even that. Like, yeah. See, I don't know what it is, but I'd say
turn your brights on at those people.
See, I don't know what I'd say. Probably just in the last year, but I swear, like every time I'm out driving in a situation where you should have your headlights on, I see at least one or two people that don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like it used to be a thing like you'd see like every now and then, but it seems like no, like literally every time I'm ever driving in such conditions, I see at least one person that doesn't.
Like I haven't done that in a long time. Like it's not something that people normally do very often, but it's happening more often.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. It's just something I'm noticing, but yeah.
And you're like we're not doing it more. So like, why are other people doing it more?
Yeah. Like, now for me, I will admit, like with my car, like at least like it has like the auto like headlights. So I just leave it on auto, so I don't have to worry about it. But the thing, it also has like the auto like on the windshield wipers, which is cool.
Yeah,
it's nice, but I wish it also had the option for, because that's the only intermittent setting. It's only auto. It's only off, auto, low or high. I wish it still had some kind of other intermittent setting, because it's like, especially lately, like with the snow, like it's either there's like snow on my windshield and it's not registering it, or there's just like a little bit and it's just like freaking out, but I don't have a way to. But
and it's skipping on there going like,
oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, son, the snow's not wet.
So yeah, so I love the auto except for, but I wish sometimes it would let me actually pick an intermittent speed. But
Can you adjust
first
the
world
sensitivity
problem.
on it? This is riveting podcasting.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, you can adjust the sensitivity on it, but it's like, yeah, it's not enough for me. So anyway,
There goes my broken echo. Echo. Lights on.
see, they're listening to you, man.
Yeah, it has.
See,
It's pretty broken. Like it doesn't always turn the lights off around this time, but like pretty often. It's like sometime around 10:30.
yeah.
I think it's because the government's listening to me, and it's making the other shit work wrong.
Well, I mean, we were making fun of Dear Leader's Elden Ring build.
What's gonna happen with anti-Christian bias? Like, are we gonna not be allowed to? Are they gonna force the
well? I think at least,
which I like saying.
Well, pro-oligarchs. That's good. I like that. Well, at least
not mine,
for,
but no, it is fun.
But at least for now, it seems like the whole like anti-Christian bias thing, they're only focusing on where it is in government. So at least for now, yeah, because if there's anything about the American government, it's pretty anti-Christian. Even though like literally every single president we've ever had has been a Christian, and they swear in on the Bible, and yeah, total anti-Christian bias though. So
yeah, that seems more like just like a little tasty treat to throw out there to the fundamentalists.
Yeah. And for anyone watching who may retort with, "Well, they all claim to be Christian, but a bunch of them are probably specifically thinking of Obama and
some of them were actually pastors."
They're like. But they're probably like, well, they're just claiming to be Christian, but that doesn't mean they're really Christian. Like, okay, but if that's the case, then that proves my point even more, because that's how beneficial it is to be Christian in this country, where even if you're not, you think it's a good idea to pretend to. Because if Christians were being persecuted and there was an anti-Christian bias, people would not be pretending to be Christian when they're in power. So if you want to make that case... It's a weird flex, but okay. He said, as if he were hip with the jive of the kids these days. So, which I totally just blew all of that right there.
With the jive.
It's like people didn't even say that when I was a kid.
No, that's something white people would say, trying to make sense of what black people were saying in the 70s.
Yeah, it's like I'm 42 going on 75. All right, well.
Well, I think we probably solved it.
Yep, good job. I'm glad. Well, any other thoughts on whatever the hell it was we talked about today? Or
well, sort of. Like we're like the Elon Musk stuff. We're watching conservatives who hate postmodernism just really rock it like they own it. Where like what's true doesn't matter anymore, and just make up your own narrative, man, and just like that's what's real, and like
right.
So I mean, like we're already
so weird.
We're so far into postmodernism, even the conservatives can't help but do it. Like while they think they're fighting it, which is really killing everything. Like it's. So have they thought it through? Okay, so like when the answer is no, but like in this way, have they thought it through? If nothing matters anymore, and whatever the person in charge says is how it is, and like so, what's real doesn't really matter anymore. Like, who's going to give a shit about what Donald Trump wants? Because nothing matters anymore. But now you ended everything that mattered. And so now you're going to claim, except for this, now this matters. We're all done with what matters. It's like, we've got our own version of what matters. And you're going to try to say, oh, but no, like, all of your things that matter don't matter. Only what Donald Trump wants matters. And you've kind of broken reality. And now no one wants to play anymore. And so there won't be fealty to Donald Trump or to Emperor Musk. Like, people are like, oh, we might go along just because we don't want to go to jail. We are gonna hate you, and you're gonna be a laughing stock, and we're gonna call it the nerd apocalypse. And like, it's like we refuse to take you seriously. Like, the thing that they want most is just to be like unquestioning respect. Like, no, we refuse to give it. Like, we will laugh at you from prison. Like, so that's the thing. Like, don't do. I think we do what we have to, not let our spirits be broken.
Yeah.
Like, AOC said, they don't deserve your fear, or like, don't give them your fear. Like, that's what they thrive on. Liberal tears. Like, they joked about it, but like, it's actually true. Like,
oh yeah, yeah.
If you think they're ridiculous, like, still fight them. You know, like, push back against them with like protesting and all that legal stuff. But like, but don't fear them, because they don't deserve that kind of respect.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I imagine probably the thing that they would personally like find the most upsetting, as far as like the way anyone would react to them, is if you just laugh at them. Like, that would absolutely bother them the most. So, yeah, that's why I usually like, because I've been posting a lot about like things that have been going on, like on Facebook, and because I'm the old people now. Apparently, that's where we hang out. But I think I mentioned before, but following like what was like the alt parks department page on Facebook, fantastic. Like, seriously, like, follow them. I share a lot of their posts, but I usually try to make the point of like just saying something like not just the like, oh, they're evil and like what they're doing is so outrageous, but just saying things like, these people are fucking morons, or like this man is such a toddler. It's like, or one of my favorites. I saw someone post recently, like, really, like the best way to like come up with like so speaking of like the British people we were watching on the YouTubes tonight, they said, by way of connecting it back with that, for no other reason other than it felt like a thing to do. They said, like, basically all you have to do to make any kind of British insult is just call someone an absolute and then just insert random noun. Like, one of my favorites, like, so one of our other favorite YouTubers, Sir Sick, one I remember him using, like, when someone was being like really stupid, he just called him like, you absolute sandwich. Like, I don't know what that means, but that makes total sense.
I like calling somebody a pellic. Like,
ooh,
that's a British thing. It's like calling them a dullard, or like, you're stupid, but you're a jerk about it. Like,
that's good. Yeah.
Also, calling somebody a knob, that's also fun.
Yep.
Shit, a bell end. That's slang for
bell.
But a bell end, that's their phrasing for dickhead.
Makes sense.
A bell end, but like a bell end.
Yeah.
Because that's what it looks like, I guess. They have weird bells, if that's the case.
Yeah. Yeah. or weird dicks. But
could be.
We'll have to have our former guest Keith, certified British person, on to verify some of these. But yeah, I just love the angle of like just absolute something. And I think about it, like I'm just like looking around my room right now, like you absolute chair, or or you absolute end table. It's like, yeah, these sounds like insults. This is fantastic.
He's been hidden from my feed for a bit. Sir Sick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've been noticing certain things have been missing.
Which feed?
On YouTube.
Oh, are you subscribed or?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that for me, like I get when I go on YouTube, I don't normally just go to my regular feed. I usually just go to my subscription feed. That's really all I. For the most
I go
part,
there pretty often too, and it's not showing up in there. Oh no, wait, no, it did show up. I just didn't watch that one.
Yeah. But speaking of YouTube, I guess by way of closing thoughts and recommendations, go to like the Myth Vision channel and look at like especially his recent video he did with Richard C. Miller about like all the mythology and stuff like surrounding Jesus. And now he's not a mythicist like Richard Miller and Derek, the guy who runs the channel. He's not a mythicist either, but he says, but
there's
it's
a lot of
almost
influence
like,
there.
yeah, but what I love, like, it's almost kind of ironic in that, like, one of the main reasons that people like Richard Miller or me will say that Jesus was a real person is ironically because of how he's been mythologized, because the kind of like mythology and stories that were like attached to him were the kind of things that people would say about real people. But yeah, anyway, yeah, look up the stuff with Richard C. Miller. You can find him on other channels too, but especially like his interviews and stuff he's done with Myth Vision were fantastic. So yeah, and Sir Sick, because he's good fun too. Yeah, Sick, SIC.
And for being kind of a buffoon, like he often makes some really good points.
Yeah, I mean, because he's like a self-described idiot. Like that's kind of like part of his shtick. Is
he has
like
a disclaimer at the beginning.
Yeah, he's like, look, I'm a moron. Don't listen to me. But speaking of how moronic I am, here's what I can say about these other absolute morons. But yeah,
and he loves the whiskey.
Yes, but not the humans. So,
it's like, tell me you're autistic without telling me you're autistic,
right? Yeah.
So, and his wife, Mrs. Sick, also is. They're terrible stream for terrible people on Mondays.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's just audio.
Okay. Yeah, I should probably check that out sometime. But yeah,
like I said, I'm people either.
Oh, good. Because that's the thing, like I said, like I pretty much just go through my subscription feed, but like I am subscribed to like so many channels now, and like I'm so like behind on all the things I've been wanting to watch. Because like I usually watch it during work, but like I had Monday off because it was President's Day, and like on last Friday I only worked a half day because I had my MRI in the morning, and so that's usually when I watch.
Yeah, sorry.
But so like I said, that's usually when I watch all the things in my subscription feed. So I'm like so behind. But I saw recently they posted, I guess, and this is something I really want to watch, also tying into our video game discussion. I guess she started playing Dark Souls, and they were like, I don't know if this was like on her channel or something. So I'm like, oh, I need to watch that. But also, people who don't know, like Sir Sick, he actually said like he just has like a cartoon character instead of that he has on his channel, like as him, but he says it's actually based on Knight Solaire from the original Dark Souls, which nice. I appreciate. Yeah, I'm not as big on him as an NPC as most people are. I mean, I like him all right, but I guess most of like Dark Souls fans were like, "Oh, he's the greatest thing ever." I'm like, hey, he was cool. I dug him. Honestly, I prefer Grey Rat from Dark Souls 3. He's one of my favorites, but anyway.
So that's a non-player character part of the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, Grey Rat in Dark Souls 3, like, that's one of the things, like, people know, like, if you play those games, like, there's, like, all kinds of, like, there's, like, quest lines and, like, story things you can do, like, depending on what you do with different NPCs, it'll different things will happen. But of course, like being these games, like pretty much any ending or like no matter what you do, like it's just going to be sad and depressing. Like it's like basically like no matter what route you choose for these characters, they end up dying. That's just kind of how it is. But like with Grey Rat, that one's like particularly gets me because so he's like a merchant in Dark Souls 3, like you buy stuff, but like part of his quest line is like you send him off because like he's also like a thief. Like that's kind of his thing. So like you basically that's how he gets things to sell you is like you send him to like pillage certain areas and he comes back with stuff. But with a couple of places that you send him to, like you have to do certain things to either or like another NPC like basically like rescues him or something. Because like basically if you don't do the other things, like you send him off to some place and he ends up just dying there. But so the more you do, like the more places you can send him to, and therefore like the better stuff he comes back with that you can buy with him. But like it's like no matter what, like the final things, like if you get it, like if you advance him the full way, he just ends up dying either way. So like I said, I've played through this game like 14 or 15 times, and like that's always like the part that like really gets me like, oh, like almost like literally like almost like choked up. It's like when I know, okay, this is the last time I'm sending him out. And I know he's going to die. Like that just gets me every time. But so I think actually on my last playthrough, I was like, okay, I know the kind of stuff he's going to bring back, and I don't need any of those, so I'm just not going to send him out. Because like it's like that's another one of those like, okay, tell me you're neurodivergent without telling me. It's like, okay, I know it's just a video game. But like I formed an attachment with this dude, kind of like more easily than I've been able to form attachments with like real people sometimes. But yeah, anyway. But I guess but just so you know, Matt, like,
okay,
I would never send you out on a mission to like pillage if I knew you were going to die, even if I knew I was going to get some pretty sweet loot. I would never do that to you either. So.
Excellent.
Yeah, so basically I care about you as much as I do a video game character, for what that's worth.
Well, I don't know what to do with
that. Good, because neither do I. So, and I wouldn't know what to do with whatever you would do with that either. So
it's
thank you. Yes. Well, all right. Cool. Well, I think I'm out of things and stuff for the people. So
yep, I'm out.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well,
what?
I realized what I was going to say was just going to be the thing I was going to say after you say the thing that you're going to say. So say the thing you're going to say, then I'll say my thing I'm going to say.
May your things and stuff be forever with your people.
Yes. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We'll be back next week. And also, we haven't nailed down an exact date, but also look forward to next month having Kyle Butler on the show. So I'm looking forward to that.
I did start looking at the chat finally. So,
oh, good. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that, and so can you. So, all right. Later.